Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Man so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
So among Stugotz's discombobulations is that he came in here today and Kristen said, congratulations to all. And Stugotz said, on what? And then she said, on your sports Emmy. And
GBF, huh?
No, not GBF. Then Stugotz asked, because he can be sometimes in his own little compartment far away from the real world in a sphere on acid. Mm-hmm. And when he asked the question, what did we win a sports Emmy for? I looked at him and I wondered how many guesses I would have to give him before he came upon what Meadowlark made that would have won a sports Emmy. Don't look it up.
I'm typing in a password. That's all I'm doing.
All right. I don't trust you. Keep your sausage fingers away from the evidence. Any data collection will be used against you.
I didn't lie to you pregame. I mean,
you were the only one who didn't lie to me in the pregame.
Well,
you were the only one. Do you know how lonely it is to have Stugotz next to me as the most honest man in the room? Please stop typing with those fat fingers.
I'm typing in a password.
Look, now's when you need information.
Little Gmail password.
You've gone 20 years without retaining any information. You don't need some right now.
All right.
What do you think we won a sports Emmy for?
Ooh. The Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody?
Thank you.
No.
It's about time.
That's incorrect. I will say that I did enjoy watching on YouTube. I encourage you to watch the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody, which is produced very well. The star, The producers on that show, Yeti and his son, do a very good job of conjuring from Greg Cody the best Greg Cody.
Thank you.
The Greg Cody who is dismissed by his son. His son plays the loser who is too hard on him, and Greg gets to win because he just barrels right through all of his son's insults with an alarming amount of unfunny that then becomes funny because of how Yeti and Chris are producing him.
Thank you.
All right, so it wasn't the Greg Cody Show with Greg Cody. The hockey show?
Oh, yeah, Bellamy's got that going on. That is smoking hot. The hockey show.
So far, you've just named 2 podcasts. Not know what an Emmy is.
I don't think he knows what Meadowlark makes either. I think we can
I
think we can have him keep guessing.
I'm so annoyed.
I think we can have him keep guessing and not get a correct answer. But I don't think we've celebrated enough. We don't get sports Emmys around here. No, Dan Patrick's been begging to win a sports Emmy the entire time his show's been on the air. Begging. We won a sports Emmy, Stugotz, but can you stop typing, please?
Password, Gmail.
What did we win a sports Emmy for?
Ooh, that soccer documentary we made?
That was several years ago.
Oh.
The one with Grant Wall?
Yes.
Yeah, Good Rivals.
That was good.
Yeah, it was, but it did not win the sports Emmy.
Getting closer, though.
Right. We made another movie. That much I know.
Okay, which one was that?
Did we make 2?
We made few movies. We got a darts movie in the UK, but that didn't win a sports Emmy either here or in the UK.
Darts movie?
It's a great movie.
Really?
It's a great movie.
Sounds interesting.
It should win a sports Emmy. It did not win a sports Emmy. But now all you have to do is correctly name a third movie that Meadowlark Media has made, and no one believes you can do it.
There was the Red Sox movie.
That's the one. It's not the name.
That's ours, right?
That is ours.
They were down 3-0. They came back. They won it. They won the World Series. That whole thing.
What's the name of the movie?
Spoiler alert.
Oh, wow.
You don't know the name of the movie?
Oh. The Sox.
I don't know how to
You're
do
half
it.
right.
I have
twisted from the bottom.
I
Dan.
have
The
confetti I'm
directions
twisting,
here.
and it just broke apart. Like I was
You're
trying
strong,
to do
dude.
confetti. Go ahead and do your own confetti. We've got broken confetti. Look at this. All we have is congratulations.
Sad confetti.
Yes, to Meadowlark Media. There it is. That is the height of entertainment, the height of production. We have 4 of 7 confetti makers work and function. Congratulations to Meadowlark Media
Gus can't even get
Salt
his
and pepper shaker. What is this thing?
That's exactly what it looks like.
for winning a prestigious sports Emmy. I want to talk about a number of things today, but I want to begin with the Florida Panthers, and I want to ask Panther fans Mike Ryan, Roy, and Zaslow if Mikola, Reinhardt, and Greer are that important that the Panthers look totally incompetent as soon as they lose their depth and lose for the first time to that group of losers from Carolina. I can't believe the Carolina Panthers before yesterday, Carolina Hurricanes, excuse me.
That's a fun.
Before yesterday, I can't believe that they had lost 15 straight conference finals games, which is an epic way to be a loser.
Well, Sam Reinhart not being in the lineup, that affects your offense, your defense, your power play, and your penalty kill. And the power play went 0 for 4. So, yeah, that definitely affected things. And the way that Nico Mikkola has been playing lately, he's been joining in on the offense. That affects your offense and your defense, too.
Did you hear them say who scored the game-winning goal in the last time the Hurricanes won a conference final? It was Rod Brind'Amour.
Yep. How about that?
Well, I've got a couple of questions for you guys because after Carolina lost Game 3, I thought Brind'Amour sounded as broken as any coach I've heard who still had games to play. I thought the comments coming out of the Panther locker room were interesting when they went up 3-0, and I didn't believe what they were saying. I didn't believe what Marchand said, and I didn't believe what Paul Maurice said. Paul Maurice said in Game 3, which would break any man coaching who had lost 14 straight conference finals games, to be in a game on the road trying to save your season, have the Panthers hit you with that onslaught in the third period of 5 goals in your face. Brind'Amour, when asked if his team was fragile, said, I don't know. And it was like the 5th most broken comment that he made. Brind'Amour, who I don't think of as ever broken, but for reasons that would be understandable, the Panthers would break him. Marchand said, after going up 3-0, we're preparing as if this is going to go 7. And Paul Maurice said, in the game that was 6-2 in Game 3, he said, I had a second piece of gum ready because I was prepared to go double overtime. And I just think these people are lying. I don't believe that's the actual mindset of this team. I think it's a good thing to say. I don't believe that they don't believe that they own the Carolina Hurricane.
Well, you know, we expect 7-game series. That's the Panther mantra that they say before every series. But I give Paul Maurice credit. He spent the first 3 games of that series saying this is closer than the score makes it seem. And your friend, the media, and most fans were just like 3-0, 16-4 combined score. Carolina's got no shot. Well, Paul Maurice won. Media nothing. He was right. It's been closer than the score seems. And Carolina last night, Florida played terribly, but Carolina was the team we thought it would be.
Hold on a second, though. Don't say it's been closer. That last year's series was closer, maybe, than it looked.
The one 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 years
that
ago.
was the sweep.
Right.
That wasn't a sweep.
Yes.
That surprised
Yeah,
you.
yeah, the non-sweep.
Yes, that Brind'Amour claimed wasn't a sweep. That was that was closer than this has been.
You're up 3-0. You outscored them 16-4. I mean, it's not close.
It's not just that. They're great at the penalty kill, and in the first 3 games of that series, they have not been because Florida's done whatever it's wanted to against them, and then Florida wins the way that it always wins, by ransacking you in the third.
That was Carolina's first lead in the entire series. So Carolina is certainly a lot more comfortable with the lead, allows them to play. Certainly the injury is there. And if you want to nitpick about one thing about this Panther run, they have struggled to put teams away at home when they have the opportunity to eliminate them. So I think in that locker room, you're hearing a team that was up 3-0 against the Edmonton Oilers and almost blew that. You're hearing a team that lost an opportunity to win in 6 at home against Toronto and had to go on the road for a Game 7. They've missed opportunities in this run. They've usually bounced back, but you got to think that starts playing with their heads a little bit.
I thought we were uncharacteristically sloppy last night, too. Really from the get-go. Like, we weren't sharp. Like, I don't think the Panthers played terrible last night, but They were sloppy really from the get-go. Kachuk, I mean,
Really
two
sloppy.
passes Kachuk made terrible, including giving us zero chance with the empty net. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in all of sports. When you pull the goalie and the other team scores immediately, so you never even get a chance with the extra skater. And that's what happened last night. Kachuk just gave the puck away. We had no chance. There was so much time. It was like 2.5 minutes left.
Bad lazy giveaway at the opposing blue line. Kachuk is good for those turnovers occasionally. You got excited. Was it game 2 where he played really well and you thought, oh, Kachuk might be back, but he's still not right. He's still not moving well. He's going to be able to deliver something on the power play, especially when he gets behind the net in his happy plays, but he's always looking for Reinhart in that high slot. He doesn't have Reinhart there, which might attribute to the power play struggles that they've
And
had.
Barkov, too, by the way, last night. 2 point-blank chances.
And he got sat down by
and,
Slavin. Slavin
like,
was in his
hip.
hip.
It was more about Carolina. Like, both those times that Barkov had the puck, he was looking to go to that backhand and go top shelf on the glove side, which is his move, and he got it poked away each time. Like, Carolina's defense was really good last night.
I think it was an intentional tank. Because if you all of a sudden
like
you look
Russ
at
versus Russ.
you look at the schedule, if they would have swept, you would have had an 11-day layoff for the Cats going into the Stanley Cup final. So it's like you maybe look around and say, yeah, you know what, we could sit a couple guys, try to get healthy, and then not have 11 days off.
You guys do something with health that I think is interesting and unfair, okay? I understand that Kachuk is out there, and so if you're out there, your performance is going to be subject to criticism. But if all of us are watching and we know that he was injured playing for his country in the middle of the year, then got rested and came back and looked like he had months of rest because his body has taken his body, smaller than a good amount of the bodies that are out there with him, has taken an unholy beating over the last few years, playing injured during this time of year. He's obvious to the eye, not right, because something's physically wrong. Why doesn't it buy him anything? Why, as the person this important to the team, as the person at the center of a team that's winning, but not right now because of him, why doesn't it buy it something with all of you that you know he's hurt and his performance doesn't match what it would if he weren't hurt?
Well, what is the definition of buy him something? Like
does.
what is it not buying him? We're not sitting here mother effing him.
No, it bought him us saying he's not the same player, but also we revisited game 2 where even though his speed wasn't the same, he dominated that game. Had multiple points. He was the best forward, the first star of that night. So he's shown you that he can play well.
No one's crushing him.
And we're
right?
not talking like his
Dan's
injury.
saying it should buy him no criticism. That's what he's saying.
His injury affects his straight line speed, his agility. The problem that we had with him last night was the sloppiness with the puck.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with being injured. Him giving the puck away without looking at the blue line. That has nothing to do with anything.
I'm just saying that any performance that is poor would be mitigated or diluted by anybody playing hurt. And so whatever it is that he's giving you, I would think that a fan base that has now grown accustomed to winning, at least at part because he's at the center of your team, has to be good with whatever it gets from a guy that they're throwing out there when he's a percentage of what he normally is.
I don't understand what the take is. Like we mentioned that he's hurt. That's what that buys him. 2 Stanley Cups ago where he came back and had a game-winning point in the one win that they had against Vegas when his body went through what is tantamount to a car accident. It bought him a lot. Look at gutsy Matthew Tkachuk over there. That's legend-building stuff. But if he's out there on the ice, a lot of people are hurt. And if you're sloppy with the puck and you're hurting your team, you don't show up wearing all black for a funeral and play your worst game of the season.
I don't think anybody's down on Tkachuk, but I will say I really admire Paul Maurice. I think he's an uncommonly honest coach who is extremely thoughtful in his answers, and he admitted earlier in this series, I think it was, that through most of the Tampa series, Tkachuk was not himself. He was still trying to totally recover and find his game, but now he is, according to his head coach. I trust that. Is he 100%? No, nobody is this time of year, blah, blah, blah. But I think Tkachuk is himself. And like you said, Zaz, I don't think the turnovers and the giveaways can be forgiven on not being 100% healthy.
And Zaz, the Panthers are winning different ways this year, but if you look at their last conference championship series against Carolina, and you look at that Matthew Tkachuk versus this Matthew Tkachuk, thankfully the Panthers haven't needed him. They barely needed Sam Reinhart out there, but Matthew Tkachuk was bossing that series against Carolina the last time out. Totally different Matthew Tkachuk. And Maybe because of the team, but also might be because of that health.
Bunch of hockey players in here, Dan. I mean,
It is always interesting to me when we think we're tougher than the people out there. And when Mike says he doesn't understand the criticism, what I would say is my criticism of what it is we generally do this time of year is if you win, we celebrate you. And if you lose, and it might be because you're injured, we don't care that it might be because you're injured. And last night they lost because they're injured. Like last night they lost. Reinhardt kind of mattered. Look, 0 goals when I've seen what that team does. Not only what they do on the power play, what they've done to ransack that Carolina team through the first 3 games, then when what that Carolina team does better than anyone is if they're penalty killing, you're not scoring on them. They came into this series being exceptional at that, and Florida neutered them. And to me, this is a funny thing to say, right, because of what happened immediately afterward. I thought that series ended when Carolina had a 5-minute power play, and then Florida had the best chance during that 5-minute power play, shorthanded. And then right after that, Florida got on the power play. However, I can't say that because Carolina immediately tied the score. And so I can't say that the series ended there when Carolina then tied the series. And what Florida did in the third period is what Florida does. And this is Jalen Brunson land, right? When you have the thing that everyone in the sport envies. In the third, they're going to hit you in the face with 5 goals, and you're never going to hit them in the face with 5 goals. Because you can criticize the Panther play all you want. Against that defense, they've scored a bunch of goals. And I wasn't expecting that. Even if Carolina's owned, even if Carolina plays poorly in the conference finals, 15 straight games, I still don't expect them to allow 6 goals. And I don't expect them to 2 games in say, we're going to change the vibe and our goalie. Never mind, we're scared about everything happening here.
Greg, is it fair to say that this is all an overthink? I mean, nobody beats a Carolina Hurricanes 16 games in a row.
Everybody knows that's very tough.
It's very difficult to do in the Eastern Conference Finals. You had a team who's a good team, whose season was on the line, who wants to finally win for their head coach in the conference final.
Who was due?
They were in a rock fight. That was 1-0 until Kachuk makes that sloppy
15
play.
is one thing, 16 is a whole different ballgame.
Different ball game.
Just like it was a team of looking to avoid being swept, and they answered the bell such that it was.
Yeah, I don't think last night was a huge surprise, and I'll say that it was an anomaly what was happening, what we'd seen. Florida had scored 5 or more goals in 4 straight playoff games, only the 4th team in the last 30 years to do that.
Go on.
Extraordinary. And during the regular season, this was not one of the highest scoring teams in the league. So I think for them to struggle a game when Carolina was playing for its life is not a huge shock. It's hockey being hockey. That's it. I mean, I don't want to overreact to this loss, right? They can come back in Carolina in a couple of days and win that game, and nobody's going to be surprised. Nobody.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Is it very hard to beat the Carolina Hurricanes 16 times in a row? I do like the push and pull of Greg saying, I don't think we should overreact. No one here is overreacting.
Well, it seems like you are.
There is what? Tell me. Go ahead. Tell me what my overreaction is.
Seems like you're concerned. That's all.
I'm not. Tell me what please tell me what my overreaction is. Give me a sentence that would suggest I'm overreacting to anything because there's nothing to tap the brakes on here. I'm simply taking the result from last night and talking about it. There is.
I think it's fair to say you're overreacting to our criticisms of Matthew Tkachuk, which are totally valid. Like we know how tough he is. He's bought a lot with his audience. You can say that he had a bad game and acknowledge that he's injured. That may be a contributing factor, but he's out there on the ice. You'll be the first to tell you. Everyone's hurt this time of year.
I mean, the Stanley Cup final versus Vegas should be enough to buy him that favorability there.
This is what I would say to you guys, because it's not an overreaction. He's pointing at you because of how well you said that, Roy. That's why he's pointing at you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just interrupting people. That's all it is.
You said it's an overreaction. I say it is just a reaction. And what I'm also saying about Tkachuk specifically is when Mike says everyone's banged up on this time of year, not so overtly that I can see the difference between them being a good player and them not looking right. Like, it's usually not quite that overt where it's like, oh, I don't recognize the person anymore because he's obviously hurt. Usually it's not quite that overt.
No, he's clearly still hurt. And there were times during this playoffs where he's just a body out there. But his skill set offensively is him being in front of the crease, him getting rebounds.
Hold on. Let me push back for a second on I think Tkachuk is probably not 100%, but Mikkola and Greer were essentially game-time decisions yesterday. And it really feels like they were sat down because we're up 3-0, let's make sure they're okay. So if Tkachuk is really hurt, why hasn't he been sat for a game like these guys?
It's an excellent point, and they have a really good winger that's not dressing for games in Mackey. They've shown how deep they are. Jesper Boquist goes from not dressing to being on the first line.
It's never even
Reinhart.
been a consideration for Tkachuk to sit.
And that's, by the way, that is absolutely what's happening with Reinhart. If the Florida Panthers were facing elimination, Sam Reinhart would give it a go. But the Panthers decided, we're kind of having an easy time with this opponent right here. Let's save him.
That's exactly right, because Maurice said of Reinhart, he hasn't been cleared and he hasn't been ruled out. He could have played last night if they're in a closer series.
They're up 3-1.
Yeah, if you guys say,
The
though,
hell are we doing?
If you got nothing, we're talking about the game last night.
All right.
What are we doing is we're talking about
talking about hockey.
We're talking
they're up
about
3-1. I mean, they're in the Stanley Cup, third straight season. Let's celebrate it.
Stugotz, should we only talk about the game if it goes to game 7?
Let me stop all of you when you say easy time. Well, the coach just told me he's preparing for 7. Or I'm sorry, Marchand said he's preparing for 7. It's the coach's message. The coach should.
Always.
Well, but you say always, but not in gesture if he's sitting Reinhard right now.
That's the Panthers' mantra, though. And back me up, Roy. Before every series,
go on.
The Panthers are. Quit saying "go on." What are you talking about? Before every series, they're like, "We prepare for 7 games." That's just the Panthers' mantra. It's nothing new about this series. That's what they say. That's what they do.
I get that, and it's their mantra, but it is a lie when they sit Reinhardt and give away a game.
It's not a lie. I mean, if anything, they're encouraging 7 games by sitting him.
Noted, they sat him for game 3, and they won that game, and their decision was rewarded.
I can't believe that hit resulted in someone just being day-to-day. Is anybody making the joke, the dad joke, as celebrated on the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody?
Sure.
Is anyone making the joke about Sebastian calling him an aho because of what he did to Reinhardt? That the retaliation came on Sebastian because he was clearly an aho? No one's making that joke?
No, I no.
Why would they make that joke? It's a terrible joke.
Yeah. Pretty good. No, it's pretty good.
Man, you knew he would show up for that empty net. Sebastian Aho, one of the great frauds in that sport. You knew at 6'1" that dude was going to be pin hunting.
Oh, and it was such a charity goal. He was past the puck in front of the net. Why didn't the other guy shoot? Here's a little gift for you, you aho.
No one's making that joke. It's a terrible joke. But I will say that the Greg Cody Show featuring Greg Cody has a weekly dad joke that is aggressively bad, and it's more like a granddad joke. I feel
no,
like
they're good. They're good jokes.
They're terrible
Yeah,
every
they are.
time. Every single time they're terrible. I mean, dad jokes are always terrible. Aren't by definition, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show, aren't by definition dad jokes always terrible?
They're so good. They're so bad that they're good. That's the way I look at them.
Right.
You know, you can
Stop
groan,
talking.
you can groan and smile at the same time. Am I right? For example, what does the custodian say when he suddenly comes out of the supply closet?
You blew that joke.
I know, I really did. The setup was bad.
Supplies. Like,
Yeah, instead of surprise, he said supplies. But I blew
you
it.
shouldn't have
Yeah.
put supplies.
I know,
Supplies
I shouldn't
party.
have.
Yeah.
I'm
Again,
sorry. I was going from memory. You know.
which if you're a granddad makes the jokes a little harder because you're telling granddad jokes. They're not even dad jokes. They're another level of bad.
That's true,
There's
but-
no such thing as granddad jokes. Those haven't been invented
No.
yet. And
Yeah,
yours
I'm
are
gonna coin that phrase. Let me write that down.
Yours are so bad that they're granddad jokes.
Yeah,
true.
but they're cute and the grandkids love them. Like my dad says every time he takes us out for dinner, he says as he's looking over the bill, he says, "What'd we do? Break a window?" My kids are expecting it and they still laugh. I still laugh. He's
Thank
been
you.
saying it for 40 years.
Yes.
I mean,
I've been saying that for like 25 years.
yeah,
I credit your dad for that.
you got it. Yeah, you should. Yes.
By the way, my granddaughter's graduation from grade school today, second grade, it's big. Not everybody graduates from second grade. There's a lot of first grade dropouts, so we're very proud of her for graduating. Didn't mean to derail your show.
Yeah,
there.
you did. Yeah, you
true.
did with
Yeah.
your self-involvement and your narcissism.
Yeah, well, you brought up granddad. Proud to be a granddad. Mm-hmm. Any other granddads here?
No.
No.
Nope.
Pat Riley. He's a granddad.
He is.
Yeah.
And he's here.
That's a
Right,
cardboard
yes.
cutout.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
God, it's so lifelike.
I'm not wrong that dad jokes by definition are bad, right? He makes the clarification that they're so bad that they're good. That's why they're dad jokes. But
Yeah.
they are always bad. They're not good jokes on the front.
I think they are. I think some of them are very clever. Not the one that I bungled a minute ago, but generally speaking there. If I could remember any of the others, I'd recite another one.
I'm going to move on to basketball things because I want to get Stugotz's thoughts on all things Knicks Pacers as the Knicks saved their season in a surprising way. But before I do that, I wanted to go back to just Saturday night for a second when I'm watching the start of Minnesota OKC. And Richard Jefferson had the audacity in the intro of that game to say, OKC and Minnesota, OKC was up 2-0. Quote, both teams are literally playing for their lives. End quote. Which not only are they not doing it literally, obviously, more people would have been watching if it had been
game
literal.
for your life.
No,
Yeah.
but
Story.
nor were they doing it metaphorically or in any other way because that's not a thing that can happen when the series is 2-0. Like what he said made no sense whatsoever. Tony, you're shrugging your shoulders.
You know how it is, Dan.
No,
You're live on
no,
air. All of a sudden,
no,
something comes out.
no,
You're like, I wish I didn't
no.
say that. I got to rebound.
No, be better. Come on. You're previewing the
I
game.
don't love him on the first team, by the way. I just wanted to say that I don't love Richard Jefferson on the first team.
That's terrible. Like you can analyze and criticize any announcer for any one sentence, but that sentence is especially asinine.
What kind of number you think that game would get if they were playing for their lives?
Highest rated game in the history of games.
It'd be huge, like
Yeah.
MASH, right?
A game for your life?
Like it would rival MASH's rating in their final show, right?
It
Agreed,
would.
yes.
Better. You'd
Yeah.
have to play it in a Coliseum,
Yeah.
not on a court.
You're right.
Yeah, it would be like the Running Man.
I think people would tune out during the pregame.
You think that
But the post
I,
game.
I think people would tune in and be like, all right, two teams playing for their lives. I'm like, is that the dude that used to run the I can't do it with this show. They'll never get it right. They're dyeing their hair on that dais.
I think that the reaction to that show would make it so that Richard Jefferson shouting that would make it spectacle and even better. We'd be amazed. But what a weird thing to have happen. The first ever game for your actual life in the Western Conference Finals, and it's the third game. It's just,
First two are free. Third one.
Really? Imagine
This
the
one's
stakes
for
on a
your
game.
life.
Imagine the
if we're
stakes on a
making-
game 7.
If we're making me playing for my life a television spectacle, do not invite Bob Myers. Just don't. I don't want him there. I don't need his insight. Don't want him there.
What are the stakes for a game 7?
This is my exact point on that game is the following. Having now seen that game and the way that Richard Jefferson described it beforehand,
Right.
it is a game that literally no one involved will ever remember, which is not something that would have been the case if they had literally been playing for their lives. Now, having seen the result, Minnesota dragged OKC means nothing. Means absolutely nothing. Minnesota is now finished. OKC will win the title. If they do not get hurt, OKC will win the title. They're a good deal better than everyone else.
Or if they play the Knicks.
Well, tell us now how you're feeling, Stugotz.
We're back.
I'd like to know how you felt beginning that fourth quarter, and I'd like to know how you felt about Karl Anthony Towns entering that fourth quarter.
I was thinking, to be honest, Dan, I was firing Thibodeau at halftime. I was thinking of ways we can get rid of Karl Anthony Towns, and now I'm considering putting him in my top 5 Knicks of all time. I mean, that's how big he was in that fourth quarter. Listen, I was upset after game 1. I know you wanted my tears. I didn't give you my tears. I was really upset after game 2. To lose 2 games at home, you're thinking to yourselves, we have no shot of winning this series, or perhaps we won't win this series. But at least we have a chance. And at least we have another game at the Mecca in New York City. So we bring the series home. I'm very optimistic. I feel like the Knicks have the better team. I really, really do. I am tired of the Pacers and their fan base and Reggie Miller. I'm tired of all of it. All of it.
The thing that you said about you were upset after game one, I actually sent out to some math friends of mine and some people who really know the history of basketball. And I asked them, if Halliburton took that shot 10,000 times, how many times does it do what it did?
Right.
And the consensus was 0. The consensus
amongst
was,
your math friends.
my friends.
Who has math friends?
Right.
I mean,
Dorks.
Nerds.
Right.
the empirical data people who crunch the numbers on sports a little bit better than you two do.
Math friends.
You see how he added empirical to make his math dorks
Hedge
more
fund
impressive?
friends.
Hedge fund
Analytics.
empirical
Yeah.
analytics.
Hedge fund wise.
Out of here.
Friend. What a lame
And by the way,
friend.
that sounds like a guess. 0 times. Sounds like a guess.
How about this? Shooter's touch.
Yeah,
That's some math.
There,
I mean,
there is that.
How you like that one?
Put it on
Havasher
the
with an abacus.
Factor that in. I mean,
put it on the poll. Put it at Le Batard Show. Shooter's touch, is that math? Because Stugotz just said shooter's touch. That's the math I like. Tony agreed, and again, I will say to Stugotz. I was trying to support Stugotz's point when he says, "I think the Knicks are the better team." They're that close from being up 2-1.
yes.
And instead of their
Yes.
season being a quarter from done, the Knicks are a 0 in 10,000 tries, because a few of my math friends then called a cooler friend, Kevin Harlan, who then said he had never seen a ball go in after going that high after bouncing on the rim in all of his time covering basketball, all the games he's ever done.
He's called a lot of games.
That's
I mean,
analysis right
That's
there.
the kind of math I'm
Should've
looking
led
for.
with that,
Yes,
Dan.
Right.
Not math friends.
I think he could have done it again.
What about all the bravado from Stugotz? Like, we have the better team. Yeah, they're this close from being up 2-1 in that series. They're also this close from being down 3-0.
Well,
that was a
Dan's-
game they saved their season with another 20-point rally.
Yes.
That's not hugely inspiring to me. It's great that they fought to save their season, because then this series would have been done and dusted. But the confidence oozing from you is a little perplexing.
Well, I spoke to my math friends as well, and they told me we should be up 2-1 right now. So I'm feeling pretty good about my chances. I mean, I am.
I don't believe that Stugotz is
As a math friend?
a teller of truth or has a math friend. I believe that he's going to go bravado on the Knicks until they lose, and then he will not show us his hurt. I believe that Stugotz has been concealing what is his real Mets.
Well, it depends how they lose, Dan. If they lose a heartbreaking 7th game, or if they're up in the game 6 and they have a shot to bring it back to Madison Square Garden, I'm going to be crushed. Like, you'll get my tears. But right now, I do feel like we have the better team, and I do feel like we're still very much in the series, of course.
But what I'm saying to you is you did lose game 1 that way, and you pretended like it didn't bother you.
But it was one game. That happens in a game 6 or a game 7. I'm crushed. Like, crushed.
Okay, it is one game, but it was the one game that made it so that you'd be sitting here today saying, I still feel like we're the better team, even though you're 1 quarter from being down 3-0. Like, you're
I'm also a bad shot away from being up 2-1. Like, a really bad shot. Like a terrible decision. Perhaps the worst decision in the history of the NBA, and somehow we're celebrating Halliburton. Please.
one of the decisions that my math friends say is a 0 in 10,000 chance of happening again.
How does he know?
That's ridiculous to say that. I mean, you have better than a 0 in 10,000 chance to win the lottery. You can't say mathematically. You always say, well, you got 1 chance because it happens. But I also think it's fair to say that the 2 East teams are playing for the right to get smoked by OKC in the final. What we're seeing here is SGA justifying his MVP award. We're seeing the face of the league emerging, and we're seeing a budding dynasty. The seed has been planted for a Thunder dynasty. Young team, they're going to be better in 3 years. Stand out of the way. Here comes OKC.
Is stand out of the way how you say that?
Get out of
think
the
so.
way. Yeah.
I don't think stand out of the
Yeah.
way.
What
Stand out of the way?
Is it get out of the way?
I've just never.
Stand aside, I think.
I think you're mixing a couple of phrases there. You were
Step
trying to
aside.
punctuate it. I don't know why you
Stand
want.
out of the way. Let me think about that. You could be right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. What should it have been though?
Get out of the way.
Move out of the way. Because if you're standing,
Stand back.
You're not
stand
moving.
back,
Stand
Jack.
aside.
Yeah.
Step
It
aside.
should have been,
Stand
yeah.
back. Jack would have
Stand
worked.
back,
but
Jack.
stand out of the way is.
Well, I feel like I just invented a phrase that's now going to take root in the lexicon.
You're
welcome.
Has Dorcher Chamber taken
That's a good name.
That's a good one.
root? No. First of all, Lou Dort is a terrible name for an athlete.
Yeah.
Lou Dort doesn't work. 2 quick syllables, scores 6 points a game, gives you defense. Lou Dort intimidates no one. But now I'm going to wrap you in the Dorcher Chamber. That's a totally different
Now
thing.
you got me.
Yeah, different guy.
Now you got me.
Yeah,
That's a
different guy.
T-shirt
Well,
right there.
when he says of OKC, see, he's not wrong about this, but let's go back for a second when we hyperventilate in the moment. Let's go back for a second when OKC is trading Paul George so that Kawhi Leonard and him can be with the Clippers. Let's just go back there real quick and get all the analysis that said, hey, in a few years, OKC is going to be a dynasty. God, let's get all, where was that? Where was that in any of the analysis? I know OKC got a bunch of draft picks, and it allows them to totally rig the game. And this is how they rig it. They lock up young players in a city they don't want to be in for a long time. SGA would be out of there in a minute if he could be, but he's got to stay there for a long time because they've gamed the system, and this is how they do it. With a dumbass draft, they take players who would have freedom with those talents anywhere in the world in capitalism and say, you've got to live in a place you hate. And it's tiny and small, and you've got to live there for 7 years. That's how they're going to make it a dynasty, by totally gaming the math. I've asked my math friends. They gamed the math, and OKC, where was the analysis? That's going to be a dynasty in a few years, because they weren't saying about Danny Ainge for collecting all the draft picks either. And Danny Ainge collected plenty of draft picks, and that's not what they were saying. They were getting tired of him not trading any of those draft picks. Who had OKC winning the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard trade with not just a championship, but I saw it just now on Get Up, and Greg just said it. Dynasty.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. Dan, they were down 2-0. 2 home losses at the world's most famous arena. People celebrated Tyrese Halliburton for making one of the worst decisions in the history of basketball, and for thinking he ended the game when in fact he did not. You practically held a funeral for the Knicks. You wrote them off. Well, guess what? They did it right back, because they went on the road and they saved their season. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, the New York Knicks are back.
You say that, and I don't agree with you.
What do you mean?
They won.
They're not back?
They won because Brunson.
You didn't hold a funeral?
Brunson was in foul
It
trouble.
was a smart shot?
Brunson and Cat playing together is a defensive disaster. Brunson ranks 147th out of 147th on plus-minus defensive
Who
metrics.
told you that? Math friends?
Yes.
Dorks.
But they won because Brunson was out. That's
Right.
they can't play Cat and Brunson together.
Says who?
Defensive metrics.
Oh. Habistro? Abbott? Who was it?
Math friends.
Speaking of back, Sunderland, welcome back to the Premier League. The Black Cats. Also back, Ronald Acuna Jr., 467 feet, dead center, first pitch back. I mean,
After
that guy.
That's crazy. At first pitch back, you can't throw it over the plate to him.
He's got to know, right, that I'm swinging at the first pitch no matter what, because if I do hit a home run, that is cool.
Also back, the Red Clay at Roland Garros. 4 things back. Long weekend, Dano.
That is a lot of backs.
Yeah.
Nori just beat Medvedev.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
He's out?
Yeah, Cam
I'm
Nori
telling you, this
Cam
French
Nori
Open-
back from the dead.
It's a different tournament.
It really is. Love that Clay. How great was that tribute to Rafa?
It was awesome.
He had the 4 legends of
So
that
good.
generation.
See
It
his
was
kid
really cool.
high-fiving the other 3.
That was awesome.
It was nice. Yeah. Cute kid.
Is his arm also a lot larger than his other arm?
The kids?
They were saying that
Larger
should
than
have been,
Federer's.
that should have been the way that they honored Rafa instead of like forever having a footprint in the clay, just a huge left arm.
An arm that looked like a thigh.
Dan, when the Knicks are down 20, you know where they have you?
Right where they want you.
You're on your game. 20 points is the most dangerous lead in basketball. Dan, I'll never forget where I was when a lineup with DeLone Wright and Landry Shamet saved the Knicks season.
That Shamet 3 in the corner was huge.
Massive.
And the offensive foul.
No idea it was a Knick.
Again, they won because Brunson had to sit.
Yeah. Are you saying the Knicks are better without Brunson?
I'm saying they're
What are
better.
you saying?
I'm saying they're
What are
better.
the math guys saying?
They're better at defense without Brunson. That they show every time Thibodeau goes in and out with Brunson on defense the last 2 minutes of any game.
Tom Thibodeau trying out new lineups in a must-win game. You know what that was, of course, right, Dan?
Throwing the kitchen sink at them.
Everything but the kitchen sink game. Man, you are on it, Thibs.
Oh.
Yes. I fired him at halftime.
I mean, Mitchell Robinson's a fun player to watch.
He is.
Problem is you can't burn him out for 46 minutes. He needs to play like
experience. Yeah.
19 minutes.
And you just can't. He's not fun to watch at the free throw line. Like Stan was saying the other day during the game, every time he grabs an offensive rebound, just foul it.
I can hear Stan's eye rolls sometimes
Yes.
at Reggie.
Good.
Stan's going to be on this week. You're going to. I want to hear you ask him that.
There was a moment with like 30 seconds left, and Reggie's like, "You got a foul here," and your math friends were probably losing their minds. No, you don't. No, you don't. And you could hear the eyes rolling on SVG at that one bit of analysis.
Why didn't anyone roll their eyes at Richard Jefferson saying both teams were literally playing for their lives in Game 3, OKC, Minnesota? For all my objections to it, I'm just saying you can't say OKC is playing for their lives. They're up 2-0.
I'll take game for your life whenever someone wants to say game for your life. I don't care.
How do you know he didn't have inside info?
Right?
33 seconds. The spread between the teams is 3. They have a shot at the 2-for-1. No, you don't, Reggie. No, you don't.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Can a team that's up 2-0 literally be playing for their lives? I'm sorry to
They're
be
still up if they lose.
I'm sorry to be so mad about it. The game didn't matter at all to OKC. Like, at all. Never mind being for their lives.
According to you, not according to him.
They could have just not come to the game, and it wouldn't have mattered.
I'm just considering maybe we didn't have all the information going into the game.
Right.
And then they won after they lost their lives.
Right.
Hard to do.
Impossible. They should win the series. I mean, let's just move on. Knicks Pacers, the rare Eastern Conference Finals. That just keeps starting. A home team win a game. Anyway, Scott Foster did what Scott Foster does. The extender. The extender. Sounds like a great Jason Statham movie.
What does it sound more like? A Jason Statham movie or a Jimmy Johnson commercial for erectile pills?
Wow. Wow.
One of the most shocking things of my lifetime commercially
Same.
was seeing Jimmy Johnson in a race suit, a race car suit.
Extends. Yeah.
Doing commercials for something that makes your pee-pee longer.
Boing.
Well, I don't know. Longer.
You're Jimmy
You had to go boing there?
I did.
Johnson.
That was no sound effect either, by the way. I created that. It was literally the best sound effect I've ever made myself.
The Knicks and Pacers are a combined 12-2 this playoffs on the road. Road court advantage. Both teams would sign up today for only road games. Do you believe that?
I do not.
I don't think the Knicks like playing in the Mecca. Weird. I spent the entire third quarter coming up with trades to get Karl Anthony Towns off the Knicks, and spent the entire fourth quarter saying he was the best Knick of all time. It's quite the roller coaster, these games. TJ McConnell leads the NBA in pesky. Campaign leads the NBA in irrational confidence. The Mario Chalmers, top 5 players in NBA history who had the most irrational confidence. He has naming rights. Number 5, Ruben Patterson, for dubbing himself the Kobe Stopper. Number 4, J.R. Smith. Number 3.
I saw him, by the way. You haven't lived until you experience the NBA playoffs the way that I did this weekend.
Okay.
I was right near Madison Square Garden when it emptied. It was very quiet as it emptied on Saturday night.
Right.
It was just as empty, just as quiet Sunday morning, but I did see right in front of my hotel smoking a joint in the street, J.R. Smith, and it made me feel good about where I was in the world.
Huh. Seems right.
That doesn't sound like him.
Isn't he coaching somewhere?
He is. I think.
He's golfing pretty well, too.
No, he's a coach somewhere.
He's a great golfer, and he was just right. I will
coaching
not
at college.
I will not get used to being in New York City and seeing people smoke openly in the street, but to have J.R. Smith do it felt right.
Yes.
I saw J.R. Smith one time at Dayland Mall without a shirt. Just in the mall. No shirt. Nobody said anything to him.
Smoking?
Not smoking. When he got outside, yeah. But in the mall, just no shirt.
He spent, after they won the championship, both him and Ron Artest spent a lot of time, days, either in Artest's case, wearing his uniform around the city, or being shirtless, and J.R. Smith just being shirtless.
New York City is weird. It's a free-for-all, man. Everyone's just smoking weed.
Do you think it's weird? You guys think it's weird that I'm sitting there telling you, do you know that it's still strange to me, optically, based on how it is that I grew up around marijuana, to see J.R. Smith in front of a hotel just openly being okay smoking marijuana, and there's no stigma to it? Because I felt like he had to hide it poorly the entirety of his career.
No, that's how I visited Amsterdam 25 years ago. I was like, this place is crazy.
You know,
It's like that.
Dan, there's still a stigma around snitching.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Don't be putting his business out there.
Wait a minute. That's not
J.R. Smith does not have that kind of reputation. For you to be doing that, you know, Mike, not
Careful.
cool.
Yeah.
Just say I wasn't sure it was him.
Right.
Could have been an impersonator.
Yep.
I wasn't sure it was weed, but I was, because it was J.R. Smith. I didn't even see smoke or
I
anything
see.
in his hand.
Right.
I just thought.
So seeing J.R. Smith confirmed for you that it was indeed marijuana.
It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It's J.R. Smith. I don't see any smoke around him, but clearly he's smoking, right? Because it's J.R. Smith.
Wow, early buzz.
Wake and bake. Number 3.
Is that still snitching?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
If it's
Dry
legal,
snitching.
if it's
Dry
legal, but if it's what's
I wanna
what?
do
It is legal.
I want
right?
to do it, but it's
legal.
You never know what he's trying to do with his life, what states he might be trying to do that stuff in his life.
I know he wasn't trying to hide it.
I want to be putting his business out there.
I'm not sure that's snitching. I'm not sure that
Yeah,
qualifies.
it sort of is, yeah.
I don't know. It's like saying you saw someone smoking a cigarette. I mean, it's legal.
You know what happens? It's snitches, right?
What happened?
Get in trouble.
Tell him. Number 3, Nick Young. Swaggy P. Number 2, Deion Waiters. And number 1, Draymond Green. That guy has no reason to be as confident as he is. I mean, seriously.
He's got a lot of reasons.
That Steph Curry's his reason.
Stugotz. He's
Put him on the Wizards, Dan. What kind of career does Draymond Green have? Seriously.
Draymond Green.
Right place, right time.
Fair.
Thank you.
It's not.
It's irrational confidence.
He ain't wrong.
He had nothing to do with the winning.
Guys,
I mean,
he is wrong. He
bullseye.
is an unprecedented defensive player.
right.
Like there has never been another basketball player
Right.
who plays that defense at that size.
Now put him in Washington. though.
Wow, literally the best ever is what you're saying.
Right. He'd be a Shanghai Shark. I mean, here come the Rays.
I've been watching them.
Your Rays.
Yeah, I know it. I've been watching it.
You like the new ballpark? Optically, it's got to make for a more enjoyable visual experience, right?
Yeah.
I just love watching their players.
What a time for Dan.
Don't care where they play.
Rays and Pacers.
Oh, Dano.
If your name is SL Price, you think you're better than everyone else. I'm not saying he thinks it, but if someone else out there is named SL Price,
Yeah.
that person probably thinks they're better than you.
I know.
I mean,
I had Scott on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he is very self-deprecating about that. You know, he admits that it seems like he's really trying to show
I
off.
want you to know that the only reason he mentioned SL Price for the first time in 20 years is because he was on your podcast. That was not a coincidence.
Wow, thank you, Stugotz.
you got it.
Appreciate
It was
that.
actually on his topic sheet last week.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, who reads your topic sheet more than me?
I mean, nobody else got to it last week, so that kind of thing and so forth. But Scott Price.
Why are
he's
you
great
adding
guy.
a so forth to that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
so forth and so on.
I thought, wait a minute, I thought that kind of thing stood alone. I thought that was to
Stand
be
out of the way, Dan.
I'm embellishing. Sometimes it needs an embellishment, right?
Jack.
Congratulations to David Sampson for staying on the DraftKings network. It turns out it's pretty easy to negotiate against yourself. Travis Hunter getting married and having his wife unbox a Mercedes-Benz at the ceremony. Feels like it would have been easier to get that thing delivered to the house. If I have to watch you open a Mercedes-Benz at your wedding, guess what? I'm taking back my gift. The toaster, it's coming with me. I mean, who wants to see that?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Oh.
Do that in the privacy of your own home or driveway.
I mean, talk about showy, right? The epitome of showy.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Mercedes. Right.
Please.
Jeez. Shohei Ohtani hitting his second leadoff home run in 2 days. Yawn. Do it while pitching.
What? Like while pitching? You want him to hit a home run off himself? Like,
I want to see him pitch again.
but you want I know, but you
supposed
say
to get a hitter and a
do you-
pitcher. They
I'm
only
ju-
got a hitter.
I'm
I
just
mean-
asking for a clarification on what you want. Do you want Ohtani to hit a home run in a game that he's also pitching in, or do you want him to pitch, then go to home plate and hit a home run off his own pitch?
I would like it. That's too much.
Okay, that's too much.
In a game that he's pitching, I would like to see him with a leadoff home run.
Okay.
Give yourself a little lead.
Yeah. He's half the player he used to be.
Not just give yourself a little lead, right? Because you want you want him to do that only on the road, or you want him to shut out the team in the top of the first and then hit a home run in the bottom of the first. Just to be clear.
I understand. Road, home, just do it when you're pitching.
Okay. But you want him to give your to give your team a lead means you have to be pitching on the road and hit the home run. Otherwise, it means you have to
So
not
do it on the road.
Okay.
I mean,
I think he should
when you're
pitch,
pitching.
He should pitch and hit at the same time if he were any good. What you do is you bring a bat to the mound and you hit a line. Instead of throwing a fastball, you hit a line drive over the plate.
Right.
Strike! 3-3.
None of that makes any sense.
Sure it does.
None of that made any sense.
I think so.
Okay.
Better not hit it over that short porch either.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nothing. I don't even understand what you said.
don't?
No.
Okay, Ohtani is on the mound
Right.
with a bat. Instead of grooving a fastball down the plate, what's he doing? He's tossing the ball up, hitting a line drive
Like
over
in
the
the
plate.
cartoons, yeah.
Batter can't get around it.
So he's Bugs Bunny.
Yes.
Well, I mean, how fast does a ball leave a bat? Everybody's got metrics now. Call your math friends. How fast does the ball leave
It's
a bat?
120 miles an hour sometimes when it's Ohtani.
Okay,
old exit
there you go.
velocity.
It changes
And-
every time. There isn't a universal MPH on it.
Okay, but how fast do you throw? Let's say 100 miles an hour. You can hit it harder than that,
You
right?
can, but it has to be thrown at you 100 miles an hour in order to do that. You've got him hitting it off a tee at 100 miles an hour. That's not how that works.
No, you don't use a tee. You throw it up like we did.
It's like
that-
infield
that-
practice,
but that's
Dan.
not-
Like
yeah.
Little League infield
Right,
practice when
yes.
the coach would throw it
They're
up.
not
Use a
fungos.
fungo.
They're not
Like
fungos.
Red Berry.
Right,
No.
Red Berry.
Rest in peace,
Nice
Red Berry.
reference.
Greg, you don't understand what you're saying. In order to hit a ball 120 miles an hour, it has to be thrown at about 100 miles
Is
an hour.
that true?
Yes.
I doubt that.
Tom Amansky could probably do it.
Yes.
You can't.
That's the type of skill that got back to back to back to back AAU national championship.
Can you guys call some of my physics friends, please?
Oh, God.
Physics
Now it's
friend.
physics.
I don't need
Do
a
they
physics
outrank
friend.
the
I know
math
that
level?
center
I mean-
fielder can throw that ball into a garbage can.
I don't care what analytics the Dodgers have. A leadoff hitter should not lead the league in home runs. It's bad baseball.
They're playing it differently.
That's
now.
bad baseball.
Yeah, it's terrible.
They're not. That's not how they're playing.
Cleanup hitters
anymore.
got to lead the league in
That's-
homers.
God, you guys.
Call the math guys.
That's how Emanski taught it. And like Fred McGriff told us,
Yep, crime dog.
that is the instructional video that gets results.
You know what the F in Taylor Fritz stands for? Not France. It's a different tournament, man. Guys who are good on every other surface aren't good there. It's weird.
I mean, it's been the case since they put clay on that court, Stugotz.
Well, it's always been clay, I think.
That's correct. It's that what you're saying is not a revelation. It's always been so.
Sinner's line, and I'm not making this up, was -1 million.
What?
I've never seen so many zeros after a 1 in a line. I mean, if you see 2 cents lying on the ground, do you pick it up?
I saw a friend of mine. I saw a friend of mine with a $10 bet that would have cashed $10,000. Tyler Hero, Finals MVP.
Sad bet.
Just light your $10 on fire.
Seriously. Roll it up and smoke it.
Maybe that's what J.R.
Buy
Smith was
yourself
doing.
a sandwich.
Don't snitch. Don't snitch.
He was smoking his betting slip.
Man. Dan, name a White Sox.
A white sock. A white sock.
Name a White Sox. I dare you. Name one. Because I watched the entire White Sox Met game, all 9 innings over the weekend, and I still can't name one.
Jose Contreras.
Get out of here.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
There's no way. Contreras, maybe. Is he? Is he
White
still
Sox?
around? Jose Contreras.
No, he's not.
Dan, you'll never guess who the Mets hitting coach is. Eric Chavez. A professional hitter of baseballs. I like this Mets team. In the early 2000s, nobody played a better third base than Eric Chavez, the hot corner. He was good, man.
That he was?
Yeah. Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Caitlin Clark hosting the defending WNBA champions. The passing of Jim Irsay and the Indy 500. For just a moment, Indianapolis was the sports capital of the world. Rare for them. Congratulations to them. Joe Rose, the rare host whose voice remains the dominant one, even while on vacation. It's unbelievable. I mean, there's 5 minutes, segments followed by 11 minutes of Joe Rose commercials.
Still doing it.
And he does it like he's still there.
The big dog.
Ah, the big dog. Still getting it done. So we're inside 100 days until the cane season started today.
Wow.
It wasn't Joe. It was somebody else, but it sounded like Joe. It was Omar. Didn't sound like Joe. They do this weird thing where they have Joe, like Joe's not there, but they make it seem like Joe's still there.
Like Joe AI?
Yeah.
Last of his kind.
Really?
There will never
You're right.
there will never be anything like that
100%
again.
right.
He's had a great career.
That's correct.
Great run.
He was a pretty good tight end. He's been a better broadcaster.
I don't think he was a pretty good tight end. I think he was about 385 yards a season as a tight
Good
end.
blocking tight ends.
No, he wasn't that either. He got ransacked pretty good as a blocking tight end.
Caught Dan Marino's first career
That's
touchdown.
all you can say, and that's why he's had a great career. Everything that happened after. Go ahead and look up his average. Go ahead, please look up
okay.
for me.
I shall.
I've done it. It's great.
Joe Rose's playing career, so you see how ignorant you are about your Miami Dolphins, Dolphin historian.
He
I
really
think-
parlayed that, though.
I think he had a very solid NFL
All right,
career.
you tell me.
It was a different time for tight ends.
That is
Dan.
correct.
It was.
That is correct.
They weren't
played-
very good.
That is correct.
Played 7 years.
Yeah.
Here we go. This should be fun.
112 catches,
Right. 7 years.
1,493 yards,
Right.
13 touchdowns.
That's a year for Kelsey.
Not including the playoffs.
Yeah, that is closer
What?
with Kelsey.
It's a year for
than-
Kelsey.
Kelsey season. Read those stats again and
Times have changed,
do the
Dan.
averages. Give me his career high in receiving yards for a season.
345.
Okay.
Wow. You know what?
You're surprised by that, huh?
He led NFL tight ends. with 345 yards receiving.
That's a big deal.
Travis Kelce in 22 had 110 catches for 1,338 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Show off.
That season.
Is that right? That he led tight ends in receiving
Yeah.
yards? That's really impressive.
Yep.
I mean, of the era, he was Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
But he was playing at a time where Kellen Winslow was playing, right? Todd Christensen.
That is a crazy bit of context. That he was. Are you sure?
I'm seeing bold-faced numbers here. I don't know what. Doesn't that usually mean you led the league in something? I don't know.
Okay, he doesn't actually know.
There's no explainer
It doesn't
here. I
seem.
mean,
Look, even for the time,
right.
I understand.
I'm
that
going to get to the bottom of this.
The Dolphins of
Thank you.
1972 won the championship with Bob Greasy throwing 7 passes in the Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay, but that wasn't when Joe Rose played. He played 15 years later when 340 yards from a tight end was actually a decent amount for a tight end. I don't believe it would lead the season in receiving.
That's
for
correct.
A tight end.
I will do a quick correction. It led the Dolphins tight ends in receiving.
Okay.
But it did not lead the NFL.
Okay.
It did not lead the NFL
Yeah.
in tight ends.
Better than average yards per catch for a tight end, 13.3. You go, Joe.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes, delay a show.
It's a good delay, though.
In 1983, Kellen Winslow had 88 catches for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Again,
Right.
not
To
a good
lead the
tight
league.
end. I'll say it again. No offense, Joe Rose. Love your career. Amazing career. Just not as a tight end.
No offense, though.
No offense.
No
mean.
offense, right. If Andy Murray played in any other era, he'd be the GOAT or in the GOAT conversation.
That's funny.
The A in Andy Murray stands for any other era GOAT conversation. I mean, too bad for him.
I've got another hot take.
Seriously.
Vavrinka too.
Yeah,
He doesn't even crack the top 4.
right. It's like all the guys who played when Jordan played. Had Jordan not been around, we might be talking about Olajuwon as the greatest of all time. Maybe Drexler, maybe Barkley. Crazy. Andy Murray. What was he doing there, though?
No, at his peak.
I know, but come on. The other guys.
At his peak, winning at Wimbledon, he deserves to be there. Stan's got to be pissed though.
Yeah. Dan, you might have missed this, but Javi Baez is a center fielder.
Haven't missed it. No, we talked about it
No,
last week.
I knew he was a Tiger, but a
No,
center fielder.
Last week we talked about it. Last week.
All right, sorry.
It's got to suck to be Stan Wawrinka. He's like, I can't even be the Swiss guy.
Kyle Larson going for the double in the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 and crashing in both. Hey, Kyle, why don't you pick one race and master that first? Focus on finishing. Oh, what a joke.
You got anything for him on this, Mike? You were touting Larson last week. You were very much looking forward to something that had to be pretty disappointing.
There have been 12 attempts. Only one person has ever successfully done the double, run all 1,100 miles. It's really hard to do, and on top of that, you have idiots telling you you're a bad driver for just merely trying it. Kyle Larson could have just not tried it and not subjected himself to being in Stugotz's weekend observations. And if you read his post-race comments, it sounds like he's kind of done doing the double.
Good.
It was a very frustrating experience. And no, it's not good. I think pushing the boundaries of what is possible in motorsports is something everybody should aspire to. But the reaction to it has made me, as a Kyle Larson fan, not want him to run it anymore.
We will ask the winner of the Indy 500 question about that in the next 20 minutes.
All right. Tip of the cap to Around the Horn and Tony Reale. Hell of a run. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
I have some observations about the observations.
Wow.
My question to you is to
segment.
start off, as you say, T.J. McConnell leads the league in pesky.
Yeah, he does.
Do we ever give that to a black guy, or is it always to someone who looks like T.J. McConnell? Is he the only one who's getting leads the league in pesky? That specific adjective.
Eric Snow.
What goes into pesky? Like
White, I would say.
Yeah, but what do you have to do to be pesky in the context?
Small, annoying.
Okay. Ball stealer.
You don't necessarily have to be a ball stealer, but you have to be small and annoying. You also have to be white, And you love to have these people on your own team. It's only something you're experiencing as pesky as you look at it derisively from the other team because you don't like that it's beating you. You don't like all the mid-range jumpers. You don't understand how he hits all those 12-footers among the trees, and so you assign peskiness to it because it can't be athleticism. It has to be that he's doing something with his will.
I would say in baseball, any black short base stealer, if you're fast, you're pesky because you're getting the lead off of base there.
Tim Womack?
Tony Womack? Tony Womack.
Tony Womack.
D. Gordon?
That's a
I
fine.
don't think, I put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does being pesky in sports require you to be white?
TJ McConnell, by the way, enough with him. Okay, I'm tired of TJ McConnell. I was watching the
He gets
game.
in the way.
I was watching the game at my in-laws' house, and they're like, "Oh, look at this guy, like TJ McConnell. He's shooting shots." I'm like, he's always in the right spot. He's always hustling. He's always picking you up 94 feet from the basket. I hate him. There's no reason he should be doing all these things. He tries so hard for no reason.
Speaking of picking you up 90 feet from the basket, are you guys impressed by Nesmith and the way he's guarding Brunson? Are you guys impressed by watching what seems to me Brunson get worn down by somebody who physically will fight through every screen? And I think the reason they lost the game, aside from Brunson leaving with foul trouble, is just Nesmith got hurt, and then all of a sudden the Pacers go 1 for 8 from 3 in the fourth quarter, and the whole thing falls apart. But it seems to me, I haven't seen a lot of this. I've watched a decent amount of Knicks basketball this year. I haven't seen a whole lot of people have the physical size to bother Brunson just bringing the ball up court in a way that might make him tired and might impact his judgment when he gets into foul trouble.
He's 100% playing tonight, right? Like Carlisle's, I don't know. Like Carlisle's just, he's screwing with the Knicks. He's definitely playing tonight, right?
What did they put in his ankle, by the way? Because I saw that ankle turn, and I was like, ouch, he's gone for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, he kind of hops back out there, and I was like,
I don't understand what happens this time of year. I don't know how Reinhardt is a day-to-day decision. Like, I don't get when I see some of these hits. But I saw a championship one from Giannis Antetokounmpo when I thought in those finals that his career had ended.
And then he had 50.
I thought his career had ended from
That
was
was
way
wild.
that he landed, and then he won the championship like 3 games later.
And he made every free throw.
There are 2 times in recent years where I thought during a basketball playoff game that someone's career was over. It was Giannis in the finals, and it was Joel Embiid after a dunk when he landed on the court and his knee gave, and I'm like, oh my God, that's clearly not a leg that's going to work correctly anymore. And he played the next game. And I don't get it. I don't understand.
To your Nesmith point, though, he's a very physical defender. He's 6'6", so he's way bigger than Jalen Brunson. He's got the length to kind of get in front of him. But it feels like in certain moments, Jalen Brunson is getting around him and making plays in clutch time.
He'll make them against anybody. Like Brunson, there is no such human being who can defend, not that size or any size, who's going to keep Brunson from getting to the basket. I'm just saying, I'm not used to it looking as hard just to dribble up the court as it has in this series for Brunson. I've been surprised, impressed, and taken aback by how important the athleticism of Nesmith is, even though Brunson will get his 40 against anybody.
He's averaging 34 a game in this series, but you're right. Nesmith makes it more difficult for him. He does.
It's what seems to my eye to be true, but it may not actually be true mathematically because, like I said, Brunson is a really unusual player being able to score that way at that size. And I will say, only one time in NBA history during the modern age can you say that a player of that size has ever won the championship. It's Isaiah Thomas. That player gets shut down by bigger players in all circumstances throughout basketball history at the end of the season.
Remember how mad we all got? I think it was last year, how mad we all got at Becky Hammon for saying on television, you cannot win with Jalen Brunson as your best player because he's not Isaiah Thomas.
But he has been in the postseason. He's done everything except win on a broken ankle. But I'm telling you that the defense on Brunson is a problem. When I say ranks 147th out of 147th on defensive metrics plus minus, Stugotz, Carlisle is going to pick at that the rest of the series the way that Tyler Hero got picked at on defense. Every single time Brunson's on someone, that's going to be the matchup that they look to exploit. And it's problematic that if you have Cat and Brunson on the floor at the same time, the Pacers are going to get to play basketball the way they want to with the pace, and they're going to be able to shred your defense because you're terrible at defense when those two players are on the court together.
That was always the issue with this Knicks team, right? They traded Karl Anthony Towns. They have this amazing offensive situation, but then midway through the season, they're like, wow, this defense is terrible. And how are they going to fix it going into the playoffs? Because this is obviously a good enough team to make it to the playoffs. And now you're seeing in these stretch runs of the Eastern Conference Finals, you're like, man, you can't play Cat and Brunson together. Oh, Mitchell Robinson's playing 28 minutes a game, even though he should be playing 20, because he's a great interior defender, grabs offensive rebounds. But it's like that Cat push and pull of like, is he going to be great today on offense? Because if he's not, then he's bad on defense and he's bad overall.
Well, you guys know, right? This is not a surprise to anybody when I say that Karl Anthony Towns, none of us would have him as a number one. We would all think of him as an exceptional number two, and we would all notice that he's much better and his teams are much better when Rudy Gobert is next to him or when Mitchell Robinson is next to him, allowing him to be the biggest floater around the perimeter physically that there's ever been in the history of the league at that side, where he just sort of floats around and plays a game that gets questioned when Jimmy Butler practices well against it because it's not as tough as you would like it to be, and gets him made fun of for everything from his softness on defense to his voice that makes him change his voice because people are always saying, you're not that guy. You're not gritty. You're not the guy who's going to do the gritty stuff that no one else wants to do.
You're not Hartenstein.
Right. Not pesky either.
I mean, that dunk was pretty awesome.
Yes. Great time to cut. I want to bring up something now that he mentions Hartenstein, and I want to start a new segment that is Dan is terrible at gambling. Because let me tell you what happened soon after in Game 3 the other night between Minnesota and OKC after Richard Jefferson said both teams were literally playing for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I maybe he had information we don't, that's all.
Right. He's on the broadcast.
I had Hartenstein. Now, you guys remember how that game ended up, 150-101, the biggest loss in the history of OKC being OKC as a city. I had Hartenstein over 8.5 points. I'm just going to tell you how that game started.
I can't wait.
4-0 OKC on 2 Hartenstein floaters.
Oh, are you feeling good?
Soon thereafter, an easy lob for an alley-oop that he somehow clanks on the rim. And he scored 2 more points the rest of the game. I lose Hartenstein 6 points. But that game started OKC up 4-0 with Hartenstein on an unprecedented 4-0 Hartenstein run. Floaters.
Hartenstein was up 4-0.
That's correct. Floaters. I got 8.5. At that point, you're feeling pretty good about your bet, no?
It's a lock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to double down.
You should have hedged.
Yeah.
Do you know how often like that happens to me? How does that happen? It's 4-0. They went on the rest of the game to lose by 7,000 points. But at the beginning, they were up 4-0, and my guy had all the points.
But you're scrolling the prop bets, and it's on you, really, for stopping at Hartenstein over 8.5 points.
This looks juicy.
I mean,
Feels like
that's
a
what-
winner.
All the choices you had. I mean,
That's not the only one I made.
Here, a couple
Just go for the
floaters,
top line.
couple dunks. All of a sudden, he's got 10. You don't know what's going on. He's got 10. You do it.
You got to dig for the treasure, my friend. Sometimes you got to go searching for it. Sometimes you got a hot tip about Mikola scoring a goal, and you go for it. They're crashing the net these days.
I like Stugotz's way better. Stugotz has me making a single bet all weekend. and just searching.
Found it!
Where he has me meticulously scouring for every market inefficiency throughout the French Open, IndyCar, everything else, and being like, you know what I got? Hartenstein. That half point on Hartenstein, like 9's guaranteed. Look how smart I am when they're up 4-0. I knew they were going to run the offense through Hartenstein early so that I could stop watching the game. Soon after, Richard Jefferson said what he said about it being literally for the lives of an OKC team that was up 2-0.
Maybe he knew something.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Stugotz, Alex Palou isn't just a champion. He is the greatest. And I don't know whether he's willing to say he's the greatest or not, but he's a 3-time IndyCar Series champion. He's looking to go back-to-back this season. He's won 5 of his last 6 races, which is crazy, and finished second in the other one. And he got the Indy 500 yesterday. He's the first Spaniard to do so. So we're very excited to have Alex on the show. Thank you for joining us, Alex. What have the last 24 hours been like for you? How did you sleep? How did you celebrate? How crazy has life been?
Thank you guys for having me in the show, but it's been crazy. As you can see, I lost my voice. Been a lot of screaming and celebrating with the team, with the family, and it's been nonstop since we crossed that.
Can you tell me what the highlight was after winning and all of the experiences of the last 24 hours after the winning? Does it have to be the milk?
Yes, I would say the milk. The milk is the biggest tradition, right? And it's the biggest difference to all other races. Instead of champagne, it's milk, and that milk tasted so good. I loved it, every second of it. But I would say the victory lap we did at the end. So basically, I went over a pickup truck, and I did a lap after the race was complete, just saying hello to the fans and thank you. So that it was the first time that I was able to experience so many fans and to celebrate with them. There was a lot of people that stayed with us to celebrate at the end. So that was probably one of the highlights.
How about in terms of people you heard from, somebody you were able to share it with, that it was a little extra moving than it might have been other somebody who understood what it meant for you to win this race?
I haven't had much time to go over the phone and all the messages. Honestly, it's been nonstop. But I heard there was Pau Gasol that used to be in the Lakers. He's been following me lately. I think because he knows that obviously I'm from Spain and I'm racing here in US. So similar to him. Then I received a letter from the Kings of Spain, which that's pretty cool. It's not every day that you receive a letter from them. Cool. So yeah, I cannot wait to go and scroll all over the messages that I got. So you
literally
went Pau before the King.
You did go Pau Gasol, bit of a stunner to go Pau over the King.
He's a legend, Dan.
But also stunning that you just simply haven't had time to listen or look at your messages. Have you slept at all?
I slept, I would say like 4 hours after the race, and then another 4 or 5 hours last night. We went to the banquet celebration last night in Indianapolis, and we got to New York at about 1 a.m. So it's been nonstop, but honestly, it's been amazing. Like I'm enjoying every second of it. I'm very tired, but I'm loving.
Dan introduced you as the greatest IndyCar driver of all time. Are you?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Is that what he did?
It's
no one's had this kind of start since AJ Foyt. It was 50 years ago.
He's having an incredible season. People don't really know that this race takes like 3 weeks to qualify and practice for. There were over 7 million people watching, over 350,000 people in attendance. I'm sure part of the celebration is, well, I've done it. But also, where do you go from here? You're in the middle of one of the greatest seasons ever. It's kind of hard to kind of reacclimate to the grind of the regular season in an IndyCar.
Yeah, honestly, it's been an amazing start of the season for us at Chip Ganassi Racing and the 10 car. Like, we've won 5 of the first 6 races. I've never experienced anything like that, but the team has done an amazing job on giving us a really fast car every single weekend. Where do we go from here? Detroit. This weekend we have a great opportunity to try and win at Detroit, try and do our best there. It's going to be tough. I cannot have the best preparation that we normally have being on the media tour, but it'll be fun. And then trying to win the championship this year would be super cool to win the Indy 500 and the championship the same year.
Can you take us back to what your thinking was about this as a life and career when you were opening a coffee shop with your wife before all of this winning started, and you thought that maybe that would be the career for you if racing didn't work out?
Yeah, that was back in 2018. I didn't know if I was going to have a real chance. I was not a professional back then. Like I was racing all over the world, but it was tough to get like a real contract for like years. So I didn't think, or I didn't know if I was gonna have a career. So we were like, you know what? Let's do something together with my wife. So we opened a coffee shop. We ran it for 2 years, and then we moved to America as soon as I moved to IndyCar. So we sold it. It was fun. We learned a lot, and I'm glad that my racing career went better than my coffee shop career.
Well, you
for
were
sure.
terrible. You were terrible at it, right? You were doing all of the work. You were cleaning tables, but you were a terrible coffee shop owner, were you not?
I was not doing everything, but I did clean a lot of tables, and I did make a lot of coffees. I thought I was decent. I was working my ass off every single day there because it was our business, but it was fun. It was a huge
All right,
learning
forgive me, a
experience.
correction. Were you a successful coffee shop owner? Was the coffee shop something that would have been a good career if racing hadn't worked out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was great. Like honestly, it was on this little town in Spain called Girona. It's like an hour away from Barcelona, a lovely town. And yeah, it was going really well. Then COVID hit us. We were still doing great, but yeah, I think it would have been a good business still
All right,
today.
so but if I had come to you then and said, "What do your wildest dreams look like that are realistic right now in racing?" Does it look anything like your last 6 races?
Absolutely not. Like my goal back then was to hopefully one day be part of IndyCar. When I say be part, it's just like have a contract of like 1 year and be able to make all the races and have fun and hopefully get a win or something. But yeah, it was not what we have today. This is a wild dream that I'm living on, and yeah, it's insane.
It seemed like the conditions this year were unique. The track was damp because it was a delay as all the drivers were in their car. You had very seasoned veterans making mistakes, cars stall out on the pit. Connor Daly admitted to peeing himself. Kyle Larson has a spin out and takes out Stingray Robb. It was a very confusing race for people that are just jumping into IndyCar mid-season. What was so difficult about the cars and the track this year?
Well, it was the first time we had the hybrids at the Speedway. That it just added a little bit of weight, a little bit stress to the tires. Then the conditions were not amazing. Like it was super cold. I think it was the coldest Indy 500 we had in the past 10 or 15 years. So it was tough to get the tires into temperature. It was easy to make mistakes. And at the same time, it's the field is so close that you need to go super aggressive nowadays since lap 1, just to try and move yourself up front and have a chance at the end to fight for the win. So yeah, it was tough to get into a rhythm with so many yellows at the beginning, but yeah, I'm glad everything worked out for us.
Have you ever peed yourself?
No, never until today, never. Connor did. I know some drivers did. But yeah, I was close, actually. I was close. We had the rain delay at the beginning of the race. We were sitting in the car for like 35 minutes. There was nothing going on. Just think that we try and hydrate as much as possible before the race because it's going to be a long 2.5, 3 hours, and you know you're going to sweat a lot. So being sitting in the car for like 35 minutes without doing anything, your mind started being like, okay, Alex, you need to pee, you need to pee, you need to pee. So yeah, I think that's what happened to Connor. That's what he said, but I'm glad they didn't have to make it.
Can you explain to the person who might not understand the physical, emotional, and mental drain of how you feel after a race when you have gone in that particular heat, losing, I don't know, how much weight do you lose during one of these races, and how exhausting is it to be that kind of focused for that long?
I would say we lose about 4 or 5 pounds of just pure sweat. Just think that it's a 500-mile race. Like, although we're going really fast, it's still 500 miles that you're sitting and strapped in that racing car. That it's not, the suspension is made for performance, not for being comfortable. We don't have power steering. We don't have power brakes. So it's quite physical. And then just the mental stress of like, not being able to relax for 2.5 hours. You need to constantly know what you're doing, look for any accidents around you, and try and avoid any scenarios. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun what we do, but for sure it's exhausting.
How often will you have drifting thoughts where you're like just thinking, you know, I really enjoyed that ham sandwich in Portugal that time I was there? Or like, how often do you have thoughts that aren't about racing while racing?
And during the race, it happens sometimes. Sometimes it happens that you're like, oh wow, that coffee, man, or I need a coffee, or you start thinking about stuff. But it's important to refocus super quick. I think that's the key. It's normal to have like thoughts that are from the outside that are not related to racing. We don't have it. At least I don't have it very often, but sometimes happens during the race.
Any chance of you going to F1?
No, I tried. I tried 3 years ago. I did some testing with it, but didn't really have a full-time ride there. So it was better to focus on IndyCar, trying to get as many wins and championships as possible. So yeah, man. Now I think I'm in a perfect scenario with the team, with the 10 car DHL with us. Like we have an amazing group of people, and there's not many places that I would rather go than where I am, and actually it would be really, really tough to live.
Also, it seems like it's a really difficult thing to do, racing multiple circuits. I know you came from F1. Kyle Larson had the famous double attempt this past Sunday. Only one time has it ever been successful. I don't know if you're at the point where you feel like you have enough accomplishments that you can even entertain, maybe possibly pull in a double. NASCAR seems to be about it and afford someone doing it the other way, coming from IndyCar, going into a NASCAR. But Kyle Larson seems very dejected, had a very frustrating day out on that track, and it sounds like he doesn't necessarily want to give it another go. What kind of advice would you give him? Because it did bring a lot of good attention to the sport.
Oh, it was great. It was huge for us, honestly. Like Kyle is an amazing driver. Not only he's good, but also like how he carries the sport and how he talks about it. It's amazing. He's an amazing driver. I think it's just very it's a very long 2 weeks for IndyCar. Like we are there, the pressure is on. You're there like every single day at the track. It's long days, and then combining that with something else, it has to be very demanding physically and emotionally, mentally, everything. So I think it has to be very, very tough. I would say that nowadays it's easier for a NASCAR driver to come to IndyCar because we have so much testing. While if there's an IndyCar driver that wants to go to NASCAR for the double, you don't really have much testing. So you don't really have the opportunity to learn about the car, the team, and just to get comfortable with it. Although I would love to do it. If I had the opportunity, the good opportunity one day, why not? I love racing cars. I think I would get in trouble there. Like these guys know how to race on ovals very well, and their style of racing, it's a little more aggressive than what we have in IndyCar, but still would be fun to one day try it.
The NTT IndyCar Series continues this Sunday, June 1st, on the streets of downtown Detroit, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox, the Fox Sports app, and IndyCar Radio Network.
Alex, you went to the Nick Pacers game after winning the Indy 500. I'm wondering, courtside seats?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Did you leave when the Pacers were up 20?
No, so I actually entered the court when I think they were about tied. Then they were up 20. The energy was super high, and I stayed until the end. And yes, the energy at the end wasn't great.
How have you sat courtside before, or this is fresh off the championship? And this is you were expecting courtside? Like, would you have not gone in if they had put you 17 rows up?
I would still have gone. Honestly, I just wanted to celebrate a little with more people to get the vibe. I mean, the energy at the city right now, it's amazing. But yeah, it was my second time being courtside. It's amazing. Like you need to be also like all the time in alert, because like these guys that are like, I don't know how tall, and they just come aggressive at you. So yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun night, and yeah, I was glad to be able to experience it once again.
Tony wants to play a game with you. Your English is exceptional, but it is not it is not your first language, and so Tony wishes to play a game with you in your first language. Let's play it.
¡Dímelo, mi gente! Alex, felicidades, tío. ¿Cómo está la cosa?
Muy bien, muy bien.
Ok, so vamos a jugar un juego que se llama Refrán del Día. So I'm gonna
Okay.
give you a phrase in Spanish, and you're gonna tell our audience what it means in English. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay, I'll try my best.
These are
I don't know
usually
if I'm
dirty,
ready.
though. I'm
They're
scared. of
dirty.
this.
They're dirty.
They're usually
nervous.
dirty. I don't know whether he's going to like this game or not.
He's also
Yeah, I
got
don't
proper
know.
Spanish. He uses vosotros.
All right,
Okay,
let's
let's
spin
go.
the wheel and see where it lands.
Roy has no idea where the wheel is. He doesn't know how to play this game. It's in Spanish.
Great fake
And-
wheel.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I know where it landed.
Excellent.
How do you like that? Alex, can you please let the people know what me cago en la leche means?
Oh, my God.
Me cago en la leche.
Jesus.
That would be like, I mean, do I need to translate it or the meaning of the phrase? Because if I translate it, is I'm gonna on that milk, but it's it has a different meaning.
That is
phrase.
right. Well, hold on a second. Just so that you know, the Indy 500 winner has said that he's going to on that milk. That is what he has said. But and so we've gotten him in a huge
Well, he's
amount of
explaining
trouble.
what
no,
this
well,
means.
no,
I
that's
mean,
what he said.
I'm
we
not
all heard
liking
it.
this game.
We all
I'm not liking this game.
Shit on this milk.
Yes, but you can also say what it means to say I'm going to shit on that milk, which makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but it's more like saying "dang it" or some words that I prefer not to say here.
Okay, well, it's too late. You already said them. We tricked you because you're tired after your delirium. On this one last note before we let you go, can you explain to us the historical perspective of what it means to win this particular race, which is different for anyone who cares about racing than all the other races?
It's huge. It's amazing. It's unbelievable to be in this position, to represent the Speedway, to represent the 500 miles, and I would say motorsport in general. It was a dream of mine to one day be here. But honestly, like it's not only an important race for the motorsport community. It's also important for everybody that it's not normally following motorsport. They learn about it, they hear about it, and we had like 8.4 million people watching the end of the race on Sunday on Fox. So it's huge. It's worldwide, and it's amazing to be part of it.
Final question here. We play a game around here called Indy 500 for your life. Okay, I'm going to give you two drivers. You have to pick one of them. If that guy were to lose, you would die. Okay, you understand the game?
Yeah,
Wow,
very difficult. A lot of pressure.
I'm not liking your games, guys.
I know.
What's going
I don't
on?
blame
Okay,
you.
but
Yeah.
Indy 500 for your life, you have two options, okay? Al Unser or AJ Foyt. Who you going with?
I would say probably AJ Foyt.
Yeah, you're living. Yeah.
All right, congratulations. Alex gets to live. He's the first racer since A.J. Foyt in 1979. 5 of 6 races. And again, he finished second in the other one. And he also on your milk. Thank you, sir. Gracias. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. That was fun.
He's deeply embarrassed. He did say it. We've got it for all time
In a
now.
bad spot. Milk is kind of like a big deal when it comes
Yes,
to the Indy
we
500.
did.
Well, that's why I did the
That's
thing.
why- yes,
That's
he
why I
did.
did
You
the things.
tricked
And
him.
he said, like, do you want me to
Spain
like
saying, you know.
literally translate or give you the meaning? And you're like, no, literal. And like he was like
That's
trying to
right.
like.
Gotcha journalism. That's exactly what we did there.
My sense is he misses that coffee shop. I mean, seriously. Did you guys sense that? I wanted to ask him if he wanted to get back in. I'd go 50-50. Little espresso lane. I mean, how about that?
I like it.
You're
I
in.
like that.
You're in, huh?
Yes.
Greg Cody had an opinion here today that I had not heard from him before, and I don't know what instigated it. Greg Cody has said that in general, cities are bad at celebrating championships. And first of all, I don't know how he arrived at the take, and I don't know why he's having it today. Is there something in particular that got your attention on celebrating championships where a city did it poorly?
Well, there was the thing in Liverpool. They were celebrating a soccer championship, and a car, it wasn't terrorism or anything. Maybe it was an accident, but a car drove into a crowd. Wherever cities are celebrating, major cities, you hear about, people are falling from lampposts and fireworks are going off, and there's all kind of mayhem. Why can't we just celebrate to celebrate without feeling like we have to, like, mob mentality where everybody's all of a sudden doing things they shouldn't do? And I think cities need to really take a step back and rethink the whole idea of how we celebrate what should be nothing but a joyous
Stand
occasion.
to the side?
Stand to the side.
I think you're
That's
saying
right.
organize it more, right?
I mean, something. It's gotten out of hand. And it used to be like Detroit always had that reputation. Now I feel like it's every city. There are incidents going on, like the Kansas City Chiefs. There was a big crime during their celebration.
Mass shooting.
Yeah, I mean, it's become depressing almost, because when a team wins a big championship and there's a big celebration, a parade, what have you, you almost expect something terrible to happen.
Well, let me explore this part with you guys, because obviously if you mix emotion, joy, or any emotion with liquor, you're going to have a certain sense of danger involved and risk involved. But if on top of that, I say to you the following: sports create an emotion unlike anything else in your life if you're a sports fan. If I say greatest day of your life, when did you exhibit the most emotion? I don't know if you jumped up and down and screamed when your children were born or whatever you view as the happiest days of your life, but you'll do that in a game 3 of a series, screaming at the television with an emotion outsized compared to all of your other emotion. An emotion you share with strangers in a way you don't even at concerts when you go to concerts. There's nothing like sports in terms of triggering both crazy emotions, high end and low end. And then, of course, when I throw a bunch of people together and those crazy emotions and permission to be joyous and out of control, all of those things can be a powder keg that there are no boundaries for, right? That security isn't going to prevent people from getting trampled in crowded places. I don't know, outside of Pamplona, a lot like it in terms of I'm going to put these ingredients together where there's danger and a party, and I'm going to throw emotion into the mix, and then I'm not going to get any collateral damage.
It should be noted, though, this happened over in the UK. Outside of the Kansas City ones, most championship parades here in the United States go without incident, and it's a massive logistical hurdle that many teams and communities clear. This one was different, and I think you're fair to criticize. If you watch the buildup and how that video happened with this particular attack, it seemed totally avoidable, and a building up of tension and all the emotion, and yes, certainly some alcohol fueling to it, but this was a very UK issue, this particular incident.
Well, when you're in a stadium, I think one of the greatest parts of being a fan is you're in the stadium, the home team scores a big touchdown, wins a huge game. You're high-fiving with neighbors in the stands that you don't even know, right? There's a real community feeling. There should be that same thing when 100,000, 300,000 people are gathering to celebrate winning a championship. But it, as often as not, and I don't think it's rare that it happens, as often as not, it gets out of hand. Whether it's just a few people causing trouble, I don't know the dynamic of that. But
It's free, and it's a free-for-all.
But why is
There's no assigned seating.
Why
And
does it become a free-for-all?
Because it's free. And everyone wants to try to get the best seat. That's part of the problem. They're fighting to get closer to the parade.
I don't think you're right, though, the math. I'll have to call my math friends, but I don't think you're right on the idea that it happens more often than not. You'll have your occasional arrest, but obviously something like what happened in Liverpool is noticeable enough that it's not common in any way for a car to go careening into a crowd, and also then the subsequent reporting to show it's not terrorism, because we've got that general fear around everything that we're doing around the globe these days. But I want to ask all of you, what finishes second place to this set of ingredients? The joy around winning a championship, creating for a bunch of human beings an outward emotion all of us can see that looks bigger than any other emotion they've shown in their life for anything that they get to share with strangers and a community. I want to know what the distant second is on now add liquor to that and see where all of it goes and how dangerous that will be if I put all of those things together.
I think that contextually, too, there were other trophy celebrations going on in the UK simultaneously. Tottenham won their first trophy in over 30 years for the Europa League final, and they've had a dreadful season, so they had every reason to party to the absolute peak. Went without incident. Crystal Palace is a club that never wins trophies. They win the FA Cup. They have their big celebration. Liverpool, championship parades, fairly commonplace recently over there. I think if you look at this in a vacuum, you can make all sorts of changes and everything like that, or you can look at it on the surface and realize we don't really see things like this. I don't know all the times a car has gone careening into pedestrians during a parade. I understand the images were shocking, totally avoidable, really heartbreaking, but I don't know if you want to stand in the way of tradition because this one incident when there were a lot of breakdowns here.
The last time it happened was in New Orleans, where a car drove into a crowd. It wasn't celebrating a championship.
No, that was a terrorist attack.
It was, but I don't agree with Greg on his premise that this happens more often than not. I think more often than not, these things go off without major incident. And I still want an answer to my question, what else in the world exists that is this particular cauldron where it is inviting some of it? If you've got people out of control with emotion, even if it's happiness, like it can happen too with unhappiness, but even if it's happiness, I really don't have a life example for you on things like this that are shared with strangers where you're going to be outside yourself with what is normal emotion, and now you're going to mix it with a bunch of people where you're just out of control with delirium.
I don't think there's anything else, because how many things in the world are this many people getting together at the same time?
Music
Okay, so there's concerts or music festivals, but like, then that's it, right? Anything else?
Yes.
And there have been bad situations at music festivals. The tragedy with the Astro World, the Woodstock '99. Things can go out of hand. I was recently at a music festival in Daytona, and there were 250,000 people that went through the turnstiles for the 3-day weekend during a heat wave. And you would think, metal festival, all the makings of things going bad, and they go out of their way to lower the price of water, allow re-entry. Really good concert organizers go out of their way to mitigate some of these circumstances that could lead into a tragic situation like Astro World.
You get a Scarlet Fire second set at a Dead show, you'll see strangers hugging strangers. The fact it's a lyric in the song. Strangers stopping strangers just to shake their hands.
That's drugs, though. That's not emotion.
Oh, it's totally mushrooms, yes.
I wanted to ask you guys something here because I told you I've been talking recently on Apple Plus TV that Seth Rogen, I underestimated him. I think of him with a certain kind of comedy that feels like Pineapple Express or 40-Year-Old Virgin or anything in that realm, which is funny but not necessarily smart and captivating or artistic. And The Studio on Apple TV is an extraordinarily funny and well-made artistic endeavor. It's a beautiful thing. But there's another thing that I've seen recently in comedy that I cannot recommend strongly enough. And you know, if you've been listening for a while, that I regard this man as a genius because of his comedy being just so extraordinarily likable and enduring. But Conan O'Brien Must Go is the funniest travel show ever made. And it follows Conan Without Borders, which was also exceptional, but it is such ambitious comedy and television that he's making while ripping everyone off so that he can just travel the world and see the entirety of the world. And travel shows are the easiest thing in the world to make, but they're not easy to make funny. They're not easy to make this kind of where they have range and creativity. And there are only 3 episodes so far. But what he tried to achieve with Conan Without Borders, which was great, he has now surpassed because he has gotten better at the making of a travel show. And it is just wildly entertaining to see him make fun of himself in a way that's likable and give himself over physically to something that is just wildly funny.
It's also odd for a 62-year-old to keep their funny. He's been in comedy for close to 30 years. He's had a shtick. Usually the act runs dry, that well runs dry, especially someone who relies so much on the physical aspects of comedy. He's diving around at a soccer game, busting himself open at north of 60. So it's really the ambition to do this in your 60s, the ability to remain relevant, to remain funny, doing the same jokes that you've been done in terms of physical comedy well into your 60s is not a grace that we afford comedians all that much. But he makes it work with writing and delivery.
Not only that, though, Stugotz, because he's got a lot of help from famous people and funny people, but it is rare. I am grateful for our partnership in 1,000 different ways, and I am grateful for you as the helper on the things that we do for 20 years. But what he does with Jordan Schlansky, his sidekick on being just the obnoxious, smarter than every one person, but always as the straight man, and neither one of them breaking characters, allowing Conan not to be the butt of the joke, but allowing Conan to make someone else the butt of the joke in a way that's really likable, because the guy that he's doing this with is a friend who's purposely trying to be unlikable and effortlessly doing so because he is unlikable with how much he knows. It is a comedy team. I'm not kidding you. For all time. If you listen to Conan Needs a Friend and what he's doing on Sirius XM, what they're doing in partnership, I'd argue is, and this is a compliment, okay? Because this man has had 30 years on television making things different than everyone else. I'd argue that what he's doing now is the best of what he's doing, because he's most comfortable and most likable in a format that doesn't have the rigidities and the cold of television and television lights. So he's connecting with his fans. And this particular project, Mike, I don't know what you've been most impressed by watching, but the way that he ends up, for example, doing things that test the limits of, I'm just going to appear randomly in a famous soap opera in that country where they don't even speak English.
Or make a Norwegian rap song. His improvisational skills, too, are just top level elite, because a lot of what goes on in the show, and I don't see the script, I don't know what exactly they're planning, but the way that it feels is, all right, we're just going to have you talk to this person that hosts like a Viking cosplay thing and just go be funny. That is a very difficult goal to achieve. Hey, funny man, just in your 60s, go be funny and make us laugh and improv, and you don't know what this person is going to say. You react and you make the people laugh, and he delivers. Yes, there's great production. There are bit players around him that make it work, but ultimately, at the heart of it, it lives and dies with Conan O'Brien's performance to be as funny as he's ever been at 62 years old. And to also be endearing to the audience, not push people away. A guy doing physical comedy and doing the same shticky stuff that you've seen him do, that can grow tired and grating on an audience, and he finds a way to apply enough humanity and be likable enough that you end up rooting for him even when he's antagonizing people around him. It's a special skill that he has.
Stugotz, I cannot tell you how high a compliment I'm giving him personally, given how much I admire 30 years, more than 30 years of work for somebody who worked on The Simpsons, and his talk show was groundbreaking even amid the giants of late-night television, to call the work he's presently doing the best of his career. It's just a huge tribute to wherever it is his neuroses and his needs for attention make him somebody who has to be the clown who gets people's attention and knows how to get their attention with funny, but also pulls off the second trick, which is the hardest thing to do. The likability is indisputable. Anybody watching that is going to come away. You might not even think he's funny, but you're like, man, that guy is great around people. It's just so nice to see him create.
He's comfortable around people.
Such a contagious sort of happiness that he's spreading by embracing, I'm a 6'6" red clown with crudely painted eyes like you'd find on a doll. And making fun of himself physically and having very little ego. And then on top of that, having a conversation on his podcast network with John Mayer, for example, where you're like, oh my God, I knew John Mayer was smart and interesting. I had no idea that he had that range as both smart and funny that Conan O'Brien just brought out of him, because Conan O'Brien needs a friend. Like, I really can't speak highly enough about what Conan O'Brien is doing with this portion of his career.
Comedians don't have runs like this. They don't. Look how sick people got of Jay Leno. Look how sick. And stand-up comedians, I mean, the Dice Man exists in a moment in time.
The guy who had it was George Carlin.
It's to be a timeless act, but also shticky. And to have people still waiting for you to do the shticky stuff while you're also challenging yourself on the improv, he's an alien. For him to be this funny for this long, to be that quick improvisationally, to have built-out bits, because what he does with Schlansky is like a really built-out bit over time and still deliver time in and time out. I'm just in awe of the guy.
I remember 15 or 20 years ago, the comedian Albert Brooks had a pretty, what I thought was a pretty inventive documentary or film. I don't know how they characterize it.
I don't think it's that old. I think it's more recent than that. It's not 15 years old.
Looking for comedy in the Muslim world is what I'm talking about.
Okay, it's a different one that you're.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the one he just made more recently.
No, but that was the same type of thing where he's going to a foreign country and trying to find the comedy. But you're right about Conan O'Brien. I have such respect for him. I have yet to see this new series, but certainly will based on.
You haven't seen either of them? You haven't
No.
seen Conan Without Borders?
The Norway thing is as good a standalone piece of television when the goal is we're going to try to make you laugh with a travel show. I don't see how you could do it better than he did that.
I would recommend it strongly. I would also say to you, Roy, see if you can find for me, because when he mentioned Albert Brooks, I saw the recent documentary on Albert Brooks that I believe was done by Judd Apatow, who has also done a very good documentary on Gary Shandling. And the details escape me right now on how the father of Albert Brooks died, but I want to get to that story before we get out of here, because comedically, it's dark comedy perfect for Albert Brooks's father to die, I believe, during a speech or during a performance at a friar's roast of some sort. And the details are crazy on dark comedy on how it is that his father died, and memorable.
Yeah, Harry Einstein died after performing a stand-up routine at Lucille Ball's induction into the Friars Club. This was back in 1958. He did the routine, he killed, and then he sat down, and then he died.
Okay, but there was also a song that played right afterward that was basically a song about death. And what you heard Roy right, Albert Brooks's real name is Albert Einstein. His original last name is indeed Einstein, and his brother is Super Dave, our friend Bob Einstein.
Yeah, rest in peace. I think Mulaney in that Kennedy Honors, which was also a very interesting point in time for that particular honor to happen, said being a Conan supporter is like rooting for a recreational center and underserved part of the community that is constantly under threat of being shut down. Like, you feel like you have to do a GoFundMe every 10 years for Conan's career to be able to make your audience jump through so many hoops to have your back and to still lift them up with laughter after all these years. Name another example of someone that's done that.
The song was called There's No Tomorrow.
Roy, how you doing, kid?
I am hanging in there, sir. We are going to get ready in a second. I'm going to start this segment with a billboard. You guys ready in there?
Yeah, we've started already, and you should just get started with the billboard, because I think Ernie's voice there just saying hello to you is something that's a good start that people will recognize. So go ahead and just read the billboard.
I will. This episode is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
He called him kid.
I know,
I love that.
But we all had the same reaction. Zaslow just whispered into my ear when he heard Ernie's voice. He said, that made me happy.
It did.
And all of us had the same reaction. I wanted to have him on. He's never going to gloat because he's as egoless as they come in this particular business. But he's the one who told you these Pacers were going to be in this position. And there weren't a whole lot of people saying that. So, Ernie, thank you for joining us. But what do you make so far of the series? And what do you make of Stugotz's contention that the Knicks are the better team?
Boy, that's a lot to unpack. Good morning, guys. How are we doing? Everything good?
Yes,
Excellent.
sir. Thank you.
Better now.
Good morning, Ernie.
Yes, with your voice.
Yes.
And we get to cover sports for a living and have the same gratitude you do about that.
Yes. I mean, and I'm grateful that we've got this kind of a series as our NBA on TNT swan song. I'll tell you that. It's been fun every step of the way on this one, and I don't know, Stugotz, if New York's a better team. I mean, they were a whisper away from being down 3-0. So I think they're two very evenly matched teams, and every game's coming down to clutch time. 5 or less than 5 minutes to go, and so what more can you want? And so I've been enjoying this like crazy. I don't know what happened actually, Dan, that day that you said, okay, if there is a dark horse, so look, I'll admit, I did not come on your show last time and say, oh, by the way, the Indiana Pacers. You said, hey, if you had to pick a dark horse out of this bunch, and I said, hey, let's go Indiana. And now you've been texting me after every time they win with just one word, says Pacers with 2 exclamation points. And then I try to think of something witty to come back at you with. But it's been pretty amazing to watch.
That's so you right there. You got it totally right. And everyone in sports media except you would be taking a victory lap. You are sitting here saying, I didn't get it that right.
No, I didn't. I was pressed. And I've learned from talking to you that I better come up with an answer. And so it wasn't like I was going to say, oh, there were a lot of good teams. I couldn't possibly pick a dark horse. But I hit this one, okay? I got this one right.
Ernie, the Knicks could easily be up 2-1. Plus, Dan has math friends, and they say that they should be up 2 games to 1.
Well, Ernie, I will ask you this question as a basketball expert because I have talked to friends who know math, and they say if Halliburton took that shot 10,000 times and tried to get the ball to bounce that high and then land through the net that way without touching the rim, that he would be able to do that 0 out of the next 10,000 times. The ball bouncing over the shot clock and then swishing through the net.
It almost hit us. And we're and at the Garden, we are in the very rafters. I reached out and thought it was like a foul ball. And I said, hey, I'm going to get a souvenir. No, it was an amazing moment. Those things, we're just, when they happen, you don't believe what you just saw. And so sure, I mean, the Knicks blew a huge lead in that game, should have won it. Hey, game 3, Rick Carlisle has lost 3 games in his career when he had a 20-point lead at home. And so he's like 250-3 in that situation. So, I mean, when it gets to this point, you can always look and say, if we had done this and we had done this, we should be up 2-1. We should be up 3-0. That's part of playoff basketball. So, yeah, your friends who think the Knicks could be up 2-1, yeah, they're right. They really are. But you could also say, hey, you know what? Pacers should be up 3-0. So there you go.
Ernie, how big an adjustment do you think it is for Carlisle after losing Game 3 to bring back John Halliburton?
Desperate.
It's such a huge story. The fact that he will be in the arena. No, what I think. When Chuck brought it up the other night and he talked about it, said, "Hey, the guy's done his time. Let him, watch a home game." And I think being in his home arena and being somewhere not on the floor, that's fine. What he did was wrong. But I certainly wouldn't say, "Hey, let him go to the Garden too and watch from a courtside seat." No, that would not be a good idea. But I think being at home and where the Pacers take care of him and put him in a suite and let him watch his son play, I'm okay with that.
Ernie, how much of a punishment though is it that he's not allowed to sit courtside, but they're going to put him in a suite?
It's absolutely that's very difficult. It's very difficult watching a game from a suite. No, but look. He missed the last round. Okay, he sat out the entire round when they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Couldn't go to any games. So let's just move on. That would be my stance.
Couple fist bumps from the Turner exec saying, "Man, thank God we got the East this year. Woo, that would have been rough to go to OKC."
No, this is, again, as I said when we came on, this is a great way for us to go out. Because it's been a time of like mixed emotions and so yeah, to have a series which every game, and I said it at halftime of game 1. I said, look, if we get 7 games like this would be tremendous. And now, and when you say that, you never think, oh yeah, well, we'll have a clunker here and there, but we haven't. And so it's been great. And I was actually happy to see a competitive game in that OKC series, because that's been I've been on that side before. We've had those where you're doing the post game show and it's like, okay, so why did they win by 25? And so, or why'd they win by 42? What else do we want to talk about? Then you run out of things to say. But in this case, so much has happened in every game that our post game show has been dynamite. It's been, there's been so much to talk about, and the guys are picking apart plays. That's what you love. So we don't root for anybody. We just want competitive, compelling games where we have a lot to talk about when the game's over.
Let me ask you this, though. When you say of this particular show, run out of things to say, I would have made the argument before right now that you guys are better when there isn't something to talk about than when there is, especially since I've seen the analysis of Shaq and Barkley skew older with the evolution of the game. Do you think I have that wrong?
No, I think the point that I'm making is that we have actual basketball to talk about, and maybe that disappoints the fan who's tuning in to see what these clowns are going to do tonight. But I'm saying from a basketball perspective, it gives us a lot to chew on. It talks, we're able to talk. What was his strategy here? Why did he do this? Why did they change the starting lineup? Why did the Pacers only have 2 fast break points in the second half after 14 in the first half? What did they do? And I think basketball-wise, in a playoff setting, it's great to have basketball to talk about rather than searching for something or hoping that somebody, does something silly that we just ride for a couple of seconds.
But you would say that if you could predict it, and I know that a lot of improv and ad lib goes on with live television.
If I could predict it like the Pacers.
Not that well. But if you could say before a show, I'm going to give you a lot to talk about, or I'm going to give this crew of people not a lot to talk about, which is likely to make the most entertaining show? Not informative or sports heavy to you, just more likely to produce an entertaining show. What would be your answer to that?
I think it would be a mix of the two, but because I think when it's the thing about doing these series is it's almost like you get a little repetitive from time to time, and it's like, okay, they still lead in points in the paint, and they still lead in fast break points, and these guys need to do a better job on the boards, and it can get a little repetitive. But I would agree with you that when you have to not create, but when you're kind of looking for something to say, let's spice things up a little bit, or let's get something for folks to laugh about. That the thing about our shows, you never know. I mean, it's so organic that you don't know if Shaq's going to come up with something that's so totally off the wall that we're just going to keep riding him. Or the other night when Chuck could not pronounce Nickeil Alexander Walker's name, and then Nickeil Alexander Walker gets asked about that in a media availability. So we love stuff like that, but we have to also keep in mind that we're here to break down playoff basketball. This is what we build all year toward. So the better the games are and the more hoop we can talk, the better.
Do you think that you will or won't be emotional the last broadcast?
I'm actually trying not to think about that because I think the potential is there. Because there have just been times this season where it hits you and you think about, wow, nobody's ever going to say the NBA on TNT again. And after 35 years of, this relationship, having it end it does get emotional. And I think, we're not going to be over the top, but we're certainly going to have some folks to thank. And I haven't really thought about what I'm going to say that last night. And so it's not like you want to prepare something. I think we'll all have something to say. But I think we also realize that for the four of us, it would really be weird, Dan, if this were the end of us together. And it's not going to be, because the show's going to continue just on another network, on an ABC, ESPN kind of combo. But it's and we're going to have the same folks we see, running camera and producing the show. That's going to be the same. It's just going to run at a different place. But if this were the end of the four of us together, then I'd want this series to go like 29 games.
You have said before that this is as close as you will ever come to having brothers, that you love these people for real, that it's not a throwaway line. And you've been very careful about how it is that you've talked publicly about the business parts of this relationship. But I have said, Ernie, that I believe that Charles Barkley is presently in a position to be the most coveted, lucrative free agent in the history of sports broadcasting if he actually wanted to exert his power over everything happening here. Do you agree or disagree with that assessment?
Well, he was the biggest free agent when he signed with us the first time. That's 20-something years ago. Because when he was out there and available, and it looked like he was going to go to NBC, it was like, wow, good for NBC. That's really nice. And then he has this change of heart after dinner and drinks with the executives at TNT, and he's like, I'm going to go to them. And so, obviously, he was then and he would be now. But I think there's a bond that we share, the four of us, that's stronger than that. And I think that's why we're going to be together again next year.
Ernie, if the series did go 29 games, who do you think wins?
Well, I would say
I mean, best
that,
two words in sports, game 29.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think your friends would be saying, hey, you know what? We really could be up 25-2 in this one.
Tied 14-all.
I want to know, Ernie, why it is with the evolution of basketball, as we've talked about LeBron and Steph all season, we do storylines. How difficult is it to explain to the American public that defense is about to win the championship, and instead of face of the league stuff, what you're going to have to do, even though they're going to make it about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the team that won the title is the one that per game had the fewest turnovers and created the most turnovers. It's not as exciting as just saying Anthony Edwards is the new face of the league, but OKC has been better than everybody for those reasons since the start of the season.
Oh, yeah, all season long they've been that, and that's been their calling card. We're not going to turn it over. We're going to make you do it, and we're going to take advantage of all those opportunities. And they play a very exciting brand of ball to me. It's not like you're watching a team that's going to win games 83-81, 1985 style. This is a team that gets up and down, has a dynamic player in SGA and another, rising superstar in Jalen Williams. And a very thin guy who can really play in Chet Holmgren. So and they have my doppelganger, Alex Caruso, who causes havoc all over the floor. And we refer to him as my son, by the way, and he knows that. We've talked about
a terrible insult, not the son part, but your doppelganger to a professional athlete.
Also pesky.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm his doppelganger. But it's like the other night he had a big game, and we had him on the show, and I said, hey, that was very impressive. I'm raising your allowance. But I think, no, this is, it's a really good team. And again, when you hear, hey, defense carries them, there we are. When defense carries them, it's not like, oh man, you're going to see, this is going to be a pitcher's duel. It's going to be nothing going to the ninth. They can score, and they create havoc, and it's kind of, it's like those Louisville teams in college basketball or the Arkansas teams, that would press you all over the floor and pick you up. And see, if it's Indiana likes to play that way too. Kenny Atkinson said it. He said they're like a college team. You're inbound on the ball and they're pressuring you. That's what's made Indiana as fun to watch, I think, as they have been, because they never stop, and it's up and down the floor. I wouldn't get carried away saying, hey, this is a team that hangs its head on defense. They're not fun to watch. OKC is.
Ernie, if it's a OKC-Indiana final, though, is that a tough national sell, do you think, in terms of TV ratings? Because a lot of people just look at two smaller markets, two teams that don't have a real pedigree of championships.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, Greg, you're probably right. That's probably, in the TV executive's view, probably not the most attractive matchup of all time, but it's certainly one that we've seen coming on the OKC side. Everybody expects and say, hey, are they ready to take that next step and be in the finals? Indiana has been the surprise. And so, look, I don't worry about that stuff. Is it a tough sell? I know basketball fans want to watch. You know, you're not going to watch all year just to turn it off when the finals start because it's not a New York team or it's not an LA team. If you're a basketball fan, you're going to watch. But if you're on the fringe, that might be, it might be a little tough.
I have a curiosity here as a last question that I need to ask Tony about, because Ernie Johnson is the rarest of things in sports broadcasting. I don't believe anybody listening to this could come up with something he has said or done in the entirety of his career that a sports fan would say, I'm disgusted with Ernie Johnson. He did this or he said that. But Tony in the other room showed profound disgust while Ernie was talking, and I need to know what it was about because Ernie said something that really bothered you. What was it?
Ernie, and it's no offense to you, Ernie. You said something that really struck with me, which is Indiana's like a college team, and I think that's what I hate about them, right? I love watching college basketball during March Madness for the madness, but if you're going to bring me a college basketball team that's going to pick up 94 feet from the hoop, TJ McConnell's going to be there slapping the floor, playing defense, doing these moves, and then getting the little jumper that he does, 12 feet, where he does a hop step, and it's like everything is perfectly done. Everything is great. He's always in the right spot. He's always doing the right thing. I hate that. I don't like that. Give me stuff that's crazy. I don't want to see the perfection of TJ McConnell. I want to see what's going on in OKC. I want to see what's going on in Minnesota, in New York. Please, God, get the New York Knicks to the NBA Finals.
I feel great shame for having quoted Kenny Atkinson's description of the Indiana Pacers.
Well, it struck with
it's not
all
you.
of us.
I said no offense, respectfully. It was just
and believe me, Tony, none taken at all. I mean, I was throwing a quote out there that I had read the other day from Kenny Atkinson. But so what's your issue with TJ McConnell?
he's always so perfect.
Pesky.
And Ernie, like he's the best basketball player ever. He just always does the right thing. And it's like I'm tired of that. I don't want him to do the right thing all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, God, I wish I had an answer to that, but I have absolutely still.
We've made him speechless. He's a known jerk. He's Ernie Johnson. He says
You're
things
talking about Tony.
that upset people.
Respectfully, I said respectfully.
Yeah, you did say respectfully. Ernie, good seeing you. Thank you, as always, for making the time for us, sir.
No, it's always my pleasure. You all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie.
It is so rare. I cannot tell you. Oh, I forgot to ask him whether Draymond Green wore all that green because his last name is Green. I think that's why he did that. Is he still there? Can he answer
I don't
that?
know if that's why he wore green. Every time they do that, hey, that's money green. When I wear green, it's just like, no, this is just happens to be green.
Ernie, you agree he leads the NBA in irrational confidence, right? Like put Draymond on the Wizards and he's no longer in the NBA.
Oh my God!
Stop. You just couldn't help
What
yourself.
happened? What happened there? What-
You just couldn't help yourself. You just couldn't. Please mute his mic. Put him on mute for a moment.
But I'm right.
Please. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ernie. I wish that spiritual, decent man had just Ernie Johnson had said, Stugotz, you're always an and just said goodbye and gone. Like, why? Like, honestly, it's so disrespectful about how good Draymond Green is at a thing.
I mean, do it without Steph.
Do what? Play great defense?
You should have turned it around. Or you dress like a dick because of your last name?
He had to have worn all of the green because his name is Draymond Green. Why would anyone go into their closet and select a bunch of green?
I think this is an overthink. It's
I like green's a nice color.
It's one of the available colors.
It is. It may be an overthink. I'm glad you guys were so spirited in your rebuttal to that can't be why Draymond Green would do that. And
Look, there were only two options for us to go. I'm staunchly, very staunchly, just coincidence.
So, Ernie, was it an overthink? You are still there, and since you're still
Dan,
there,
Dan, responding to what you just said, I would like to address Stugotz.
Oh, well.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Stugotz,
Yes.
you are always a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, no!
Thank you, EJ.
Good night, everybody.
We're always trash. press like a wiener.
Get out of here. What a jerk this Ernie Johnson is. Always a jerk.
That's my guy.
Will never be anything but a jerk. Everyone knows him to be a jerk. He will have that reputation eternally. I hope he continues to just sit there and continue to chime in.
I do have something for Ernie to chime in on, Dan. I see that his bed has the tuck on the bottom. Ernie, you're a tuck on the bottom guy. You don't ask him to, hey, untuck it for me.
The place I'm staying is a tuck at the bottom place, I guess. I haven't touched that. So it's always weird when you're doing this from a hotel room because you never know what's in the background. But this looks pretty safe.
Hey,
anyway.
Ernie, could you refer to me as kid like you did for Roy?
Happy to do it, kid.
Thank you.
Ernie, is there such a thing as a quiet 39 points, the way Carlisle said Siakam had a quiet 39 the other night?
Yeah, it wasn't really quiet, but no, it's interesting. I mean, no, it wasn't quiet. It was loud and clear. Just ask Stu's friends.
See you later, Ernie. We have
Dan,
no
I have
more
one more thing
questions.
for Ernie.
Okay,
Sorry.
go ahead and ask. Go ahead.
Ernie, your favorite shoes to bring out on a suit. You got a lot of shoes. You had some Jumpman jacks the other day.
Yeah.
What's your favorite shoe to put on a suit?
11s.
Attaboy.
There you go. And shout out my buddy Tony Bollier, who's an assistant coach for Butler Bulldogs, for the swag he gave me at breakfast yesterday. And that's all I've got. I had blocked out 3 hours, but I guess apparently.
All right, that's fine. Done. See you later. I expect to hear you about 9 minutes from now. I expect you to just pop up without.
Oh wait, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
About 11 years ago, were you also like, that's probably one too many Franklin and Bash promos?
You had to be thinking it.
Like, really, again with the Franklin and Bash.
Ernie?
I'm lost.
See you later, Ernie. Good talking to you. But do you believe that Richard Jefferson was right the other night after Game 2, before Game...
You keep saying we're done, and then you keep throwing.
What about Rizzoli and Isles? Were you like, is this a spinoff? Is this a different firm? Surely I can't be promoting it as much.
No.
Is Richard Jefferson allowed to say before Game 3 of OKC, Minnesota, both teams are literally playing for their lives?
I didn't realize the stakes were that high.
Yeah.
I know playoffs are important, but if we get to that point, that's going to be gladiator kind of stuff.
Over under 10,000 times you've woken up and your TV has been on Charmed.
Under.
It's supernatural now.
See you later, Ernie. I look forward again to hearing from you in 10 minutes as the close to this segment. I wanted to ask you guys something based on waking up. Mike mentioned this the other day. I have not seen this before, but I largely now live a life that doesn't very often have TV commercials in it. So I may be woefully off in what it is that I'm presenting to you right now, but the other day, for the first time in my life watching television, I saw a commercial for Starbucks. Have you guys, again,
Interesting. I saw it as well, and I was surprised by it.
I'm
Yes.
out of the commercial business, so for all I know, Starbucks has been advertising with commercials for many years, but I had never seen Starbucks advertise or need to advertise because they've got this great business where they can rip you off for $8 of beans in your cup, and that's just asinine to be able to do that. So why do they need to advertise anything ever? Am I wrong on this? Do you guys know if Starbucks is new to advertising
I've got
or not?
commercial blindness. You need to have a jingle. You need to say what a pro wants like a bunch of times for me to be like, what is this? Because I just go straight to the phone during commercials.
No, they have commercials, but I think of them as seasonal ads. Like right around
Like a special drink.
right around the holidays, because I can picture the cup with garland on it or whatever the Christmassy kind of thing is. So I have seen their ads.
I've seen the ads, but they're trying to do this thing where it's like, hey, we're Starbucks. We're on every single corner. We're the biggest monopoly in coffee. But this is like a cool art house vibe. You can come over and do your work, and you can get extra coffee for free if you hang out here. So it's like trying to be small time, but we know that you're this monolith of coffee, and why are you trying to play this game with us?
Yeah, I remember them doing an ASMR commercial. I'm like, what is this, man? I'm sick of this ASMR stuff. Like, can we please stop? But the most latest one is at the end of the commercial, it just says the Starbucks Coffee Company. Like, we know who you are. Thank you.
Did Tony use monolith there correctly?
Of course I did.
I don't think that they're a monopoly or a monolith because I think beans are
It's
very
a thing
competitive.
you say. It's a thing you say.
Dunkin'
Monopoly.
has commercials.
Right.
Jordan was on one of them.
I don't think that monolith is what you meant there. I don't think.
Did you look that up?
ride.
Did you look that
I
up?
haven't
or
yet.
not?
No,
Okay.
I have not.
There's times where you say that I don't say something right, and then you look it up, and then I say it right, and you're like, oh, I should have listened to him.
That's a monorail, Stugotz. That's a different thing.
Monolith, monorail. Starbucks has run over 8,000 commercials in the past 30 days alone. No, it's jarring. It's the most commercials they've run in a 30-day period in their entire history. Like, I'm with you. I was shocked to see it. You want coffee? That's the place you go, right?
Or Duncan.
Again, the monolith being a powerful, unified, and often inflexible organization. Monolith of coffee.
What are there more of at Le Batard Show? Starbucks or CVS's? At Le Batard Show, if you had to choose, there's probably an answer to this question.
Odd question.
Thanks, CVS.
I love a CVS.
Oh, so do I.
Apples and oranges, right?
Yeah, generally
and drugstores?
two different addictions, drugs and beans.
I
But
mean, not everybody's addicted to drugs.
CVS is something, when I just think of something that there are too many of, and by the way, Pura Vida is headed for this right now because I've seen them popping up all over the place in a way
Don't
that's
get me started
it's
with Pura Vida. Do not get me started.
so expensive, but the food is fresher than anywhere else.
Sure, it's fresher, but give me a break.
Starbucks has
Give me a
over
break.
40,000 stores. CVS has over 4,000 stores.
So it's a lot more.
Yeah.
Monolith.
Really?
Yeah, really?
But also down here, there's a big congestion because they acquired the Eckerd's brand. And
Eckerd's.
Yeah.
Navarro too.
Loved Eckerd's.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was also a deal between Eckerd's and Publix, which is why you'll see a CVS right next to a Publix most times down here. Because there was like some kind of ownership thing.
Plus
Eckerd's
a CVS inside the Targets.
yeah, there
too,
was always
which-
like an Eckerd next to a Publix.
Never knew that.
When you say never knew that, I don't know if you guys have seen the deterioration of the Untold series on Netflix. It started as something during a period of documentary atrophying. I told you, Stugotz, at the start of the show today that we won a Sports Emmy for a documentary. The documentary business is being ravaged by... And the movie business in general is being ravaged by everything that's happening in Hollywood, in AI, in Amazon, Netflix, and Apple, and a handful of others are doing all of the work. And what's happening in that transaction is as you get these giant corporations making things, and they have to be careful about an assortment of things, things are being made less well, and access is being traded for the content being diluted, so that when you check out HBO Max and the documentary on Tiger Woods doesn't have his participation, it's a much better documentary than it would be if it had his participation, because by not having the access, they don't have to be that respectful in the trades that they make in exchange for that access. The Untold series that I thought was going to make a good documentary because they didn't have access was Untold when they got a hold of the Brett Favre story. But man, did they do a job with that. They spent the entire time on Jen Sturger instead of, he ripped off the poorest state in the country, allegedly.
Really?
They spent so much time on a dick pic story. Like, they spent the first 50 minutes on let's do Jen Sturger's story instead of ripped off poor people. And it was like, man, you're doing, and it'll be hugely popular because, yeah, tell me about the dick pic. It's much, tell me about the salacious thing that's not nearly as damaging or interesting as the thing that's actually the most awful, even though the first thing is not. It's not terribly good either, obviously.
In comparison, it's not as
It's subjective,
it's not as bad,
too.
right?
Well,
in
they're
terms of like
pandering.
what you're interested in. I mean, I thought there were plenty of details in that. The fact that they had never met to this day is pretty fascinating. And Jen Sturger hasn't been super public about that stuff. So you almost can't talk about the fall from grace without the original sin of Brett Favre. So I understand why they dedicated so much time to it, and also Sturger's available, whereas Favre isn't.
I'm not saying that I don't understand why the decision was made. And furthermore, if your desire is only clicks and interest, which maybe that's what it should be when making a movie, surely I'll get more people in the tent talking about the simplicity of hero sends unwanted dick pic, but 40 minutes of that when the other crime that he has is the crime that does more damage to more people. And again, I'm not trying to minimize what it is that happened to Jen Sturger, but that story has been told. Like, you can say, yes, that was the one interesting detail that I had not gotten, which is she's never met Brett Favre. I also had another thought, weird though it was. I really don't understand why, given its spelling, we still pronounce Favre that way. That like
Ben Stiller over here?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Doesn't
it's
make
like
sense.
It's
never
like a theater
made
thing.
sense.
Favre.
It's like a theater situation.
it still doesn't make sense to me.
Centra. It's the same thing.
It's
When
not-
I explain it to you, like when it's Favre, it's just like center and theater.
It's monolith.
I haven't.
Brett Favre.
Said that already.
But he hadn't said it by banging his computer against his microphone.
It was
Oh,
for,
yeah,
em-
yeah,
it was
yeah,
for
yeah.
emphasis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, is part of it. All this stuff is still pending with Brett Favre and what happened in Mississippi. So I imagine they probably talked about it and really wanted to make that as interesting as possible, especially for Dan. They're like, Dan's going to give us a hard time about this. We should try to do more. Well, he's not privy to these conversations. Production is very hard sometimes.
But the R should be in front of the V. I mean,
I don't have a lot of words, and again, this might be my ignorance, where the V is before the R, and I'm pronouncing the R before the V.
crazy.
Silent V.
I mean, you're cherry picking the V here. There's plenty of examples of the R after the E with the sound.
The thing that I don't believe, and I understand what it is that you're saying, because the second crime, allegedly, is less interesting than the first if what you're looking for is entertainment value. But whether it's pending or not, you can't tell me that giving the first 45 minutes of the movie over to the first thing and the last 9 minutes of the movie to the second thing is anything other than a grab for whatever it is you can get with eyeballs because of a penis photo from 20 years ago.
But is that surprising, though, that they're going for what's salacious more than what's more dense and difficult to
They're
unpack?
going for the masses.
Right.
Yes. And what's interesting to the masses?
Isn't the surprising part, though, when they're done putting the film together and they show it to whoever they got to show it to, and that person's like, yeah, it's good, let's release it. Like, that part would be surprising to me, where it's just the final 9 minutes of the part that I think most people would watch it expecting to learn about.
But it's hard to do well, right? And it's what I'm talking about, my expectations for how that series began versus what it is that it's actually become, and how it is that all of it gets cheapened in the process of what it is that we're doing if you allow the corporations to always make the decisions that are just about getting the clicks. It's how the poor in Mississippi get bleeped again by the idea of, oh, they didn't want to cover this part of it well because it's too hard to cover well, so let's just go talk to Jen Sturger about something here and frame it as untold, even though I'm telling you, when I saw the McNair story, it had all been told. Like, you're not surprising me anymore with some of the stuff that you're making, even though I wanted so much for that series to be enduringly great, because the first 6 of those, each one of them was a banger, and they were doing difficult things well. They weren't doing difficult things like easily, like, let's do the University of Florida's story and avoid all of the stuff Avoid all of the stuff in exchange for access that people want to hear about, because it doesn't matter whether we actually give them the stuff that they want to watch or hear about, as long as we just do the big... Look, we just won a sports documentary. We just won a sports Emmy because we just told a sports story. So it's not like I don't understand how it is that this is happening across the landscape. I just like for the ability for everyone to make things that are harder to make.
Fervor. That's French in origin, but when we decided to Americanize it, we switched where the letters are. You can't do that with a last name. I mean, I guess you can, but it's less common to do that with a last name. But we've done that here in America, change words so they make more sense to us.
There are only 5 stores that have 25,000 plus locations in the United States.
Name them. This is good information here.
It's amazing. Subway, McDonald's.
Again?
Starbucks, Kumon.
What?
The tutoring center?
Yes.
What?
Yes,
What?
26,000 locations
What the
across
hell?
the United States. And number 1, and there is one on every corner. No, with over 60,000 locations, 7-Eleven.
I have a couple of corrections to make here before we get to Juju. The 2023 Albert Brooks HBO documentary was directed by Rob Reiner, not Judd Apatow. And then the more embarrassing correction comes in the direction of Greg Cody. Joe Rose's 345 receiving yards in 1983 was 20th among tight ends. 20th.
Top 20.
So not
Big
not
year.
did not
Contract year.
lead the league. Football expert, covered these games. Did not lead the league in 1982.
Yeah, I corrected myself earlier.
Right. Said it was Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
No need to beat a dead horse.
Or Big Dog. I also need to
Well
make a
put.
correction. It wasn't fervor. In my haste, I misread fever. I'm sorry.
Okay, so a lot of corrections.
wow.
here.
Monolith is still right.
But that is your VRE situation, like Favre.
I called him Tim Womack. So, I mean.
Yes, so that's an assortment of mistakes today.
Also, during the Alex Palou interview, I had a very difficult time saying in an Indy car. When you say that real quick.
You can't say into Indianapolis.
In
see?
an Indy car.
Right,
It's
you can't
tough.
do it.
In an Indy car. See?
Keep them separate.
It's tough.
Juju is with us now. I will remind people that after every NBA playoff game, Alley-oop will be on our YouTube channel. Before we get to talking to Juju about that and other things, though, let's take care of the sponsor.
All right, it's time for Against the Spread. It's presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I got the Dallas Stars at the Edmonton Oilers. It's the Western Conference Finals, Game 4, and Edmonton leads 2-1. There's a lot of questions in this series right now. Rupe Hintz, who did not play in Game 3, hopes to play in Game 4. Will there be a bounce-back effort from Jake Ottinger in Game 4 after giving up 6 in Game 3? And will Matthias Ekholm return for the Edmonton Oilers? Now, the Oilers covered 8 of the last 10 games and won each of the last 8 Game 4s. I think the Edmonton Oilers will win. They are a 1.5 goal favorite, so we'll go with the Oilers against the spread.
Good analysis, Roy. Good analysis.
Like that.
Thank you.
Greg, you said, I don't know how you feel about this. Ottinger says that McDavid's the greatest hockey player of all time.
How many championships has he won?
0.
That's funny.
0. I
revisit
thought
that
it was
one.
a low number. I wasn't sure it was 0. Win a championship, and then you enter the all-time great conversation. Until you win a championship, you continue to be Connor McOverrated.
Against the spread. All right, I'm going to go to the association tonight. Game 4, Eastern Conference Finals, New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. And as you guys know, it's a very simple math for me. The team that I bet on always loses. Always. My record is Dan level when it comes to betting on teams. So, tonight, -2.5 for the Indiana Pacers. Tony is locking that in against the spread.
Juju, I believe, and I will say this without equivocation and without having seen the content and the entirety of your closet, that is the single greatest hat in the history of Major League Baseball, the one that you are presently wearing.
Pretty good.
It is great.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Salute
Dave.
to them Pirates.
Yeah, man. Dave Parker. Am I right?
Right.
I mean, that's
Coolest baseball player ever.
there is. That is correct as well. But there is. Tell me you've got a better hat than that in your collection. Do you have a Major League Baseball hat that you like better than that one?
Not at all. They're all pale in comparison, brother.
It's a good one. Let's talk playoffs and NBA because, as I said, Alley Oop is a fun show. Juju is hosting it live after every NBA playoff game, and it is a different and more fun experience than what it is that we do around here every day, and it is not intended to be indictment of what we do every day. So your thoughts here on what we didn't cover today when it came to NBA playoff basketball?
Yeah, man. I think not enough people are highlighting the importance of Chet Holmgren last night. Without Chet last night, that game might have been in peril. I think when Chet is playing like that, nobody stands a chance at all, especially whenever you got Julius Randle getting 5 points. What in the hell? I sat up here last week and said, you know what? He will make the Hall of Fame. I was wrong. Get that brother out of here. No longer. He has no heart. You have to at least put up an effort. And speaking of putting up efforts, Ant-Man, my heart and soul, what are you doing? He had 16 points in a very, very pivotal game last night. And then after the game, he said, oh, I didn't get up enough shots, but it wasn't because I wasn't trying. It's because that's what I was trying to do. Get them out of here. I think they need to go home right now. The Minnesota Timberwolves need to go home.
I think it was a testament, Juju, to OKC's defense, the way that they were attacking and blitzing Ant-Man when he was coming off of, getting the ball across the timeline. It was like, how can we get everybody else to score? And the thing is, they got everybody else to score, right? Like, this was the perfect game. They had the game from DiVincenzo, from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, from McDaniel, from Naz Reid, who even put up 11 points, your boy.
Yeah, but that's the game. The game plan is, though, this is the thing that OKC does better than every individual superstar in the sport. No one can beat that defense. Like, you saw what Jokic looked in a Game 7. Like, I understand that we don't cover defense well, but Anthony Edwards didn't choose to be weak. That was done to him last night. Like, that's why they're going to win the championship.
You have to take more than 13 shots, Dan. You have to.
That's fine, but he'll take 27 and then make 6 of them, and you'll be criticizing him because he didn't make the shot.
But that right there is why I object to the whole, he said after the game, I didn't struggle. I didn't shoot enough to struggle. They weren't allowing me to do this or do this. Okay, if a team doesn't allow you to do something you want, then you struggled. That's struggling.
If you're 1 of 7 from 3, you struggled. I mean...
I agree with you, but I would just also say that we do a very poor job of covering defense in this sport. It's not sexy. If we're talking about the individual performances all the time, it's very easy to blame Jokic and Anthony Edwards. We all know that both those guys are great, correct? Or do we not know that? Do we not know that, Stugotz?
I don't know if Edwards is great yet.
Okay.
I agree.
They're obviously great. Both of them are obviously great, and if they don't show up in a big performance, I don't think it's ever because Anthony Edwards doesn't have the confidence to show up in a big performance. I think it's because OKC will ravage everyone who's left. Like, that's how they won 68 games.
And they had the fortunate advantage of going against the toughest team in the playoffs, in my opinion, the Nuggets last round. If you can come up with a plan to stop Joker, Alex Caruso got that confidence, and everybody got that confidence in the last series, man, these Timberwolves are a piece of cake.
You were saying, Stugotz, instead of in my ear, why don't you say it out?
Was that your ear or Zaslow's ear?
No,
I was saying if Alexander Walker could figure it out, how about Anthony Edwards figure it out? Okay, that tough defense.
I would argue that perhaps OKC allowed other people to figure it out.
Focusing a little on Anthony Edwards more than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. A little bit more.
Yeah, but he figured it out. I mean,
yeah,
he had a big game. He did.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
So
Also in the pesky lane, other than white guys, I would like to submit Grand Theft Alvarado, Jose Alvarado from the New Orleans Pelicans. Excellent. He is very pesky.
Did not get a PED suspension, by the way.
So good.
Right.
It is a good one, but okay, so thank you for zigging while we're zagging here. Is there a black pesky person that isn't a leadoff hitter like Bip Roberts?
Perfect.
Eric Murdoch. Eric Murdoch was pesky. His nickname was the Man of Steel.
Bip.
Boom.
Torture chamber.
Patrick Beverly.
Pat Bev.
That's a good one.
Oh, that's a great one.
That was an assist from outside.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark was also injured yesterday. We didn't talk about that at all. The ratings continue to be just unbelievable for her and that sport.
Right. I know that's a tough blow to the league, the ratings and everything. She's out for a minimum of 2 weeks, which puts her out in some important games. Her team was surging right now, doing it. I think they're merging at the right time. You did, getting all the pieces together, whatever the words are I'm looking for. They're getting it together right now. I think it's a tough blow for that team, man. I think that it will allow the other pieces on that team, Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bronner, and all the rest of the girls to come up with a plan. Sort of like Jalen Brunson. In my opinion, the Knicks play a little better without Jalen Brunson hogging the ball for 20 seconds of the shot clock. I remember when he got hurt earlier in the season, OG was OG. Mikal Bridges was Mikal Bridges. I think that offense flows a little bit better. You did, but in this situation, it's rough because Caitlin is a facilitator as well. So, yeah, prayers to the Fever, but the league definitely is taking a hard blow with that one.
Any thoughts on the return of John Halliburton?
Man, they got it right because I'm happy they kept him out of New York. If he would have been allowed to go to New York, he would have been hit with trash cans, all the stuff that the brother outside got hit with, because New York fans, they attack Windhorse. If they attack Windhorse, then John Halliburton Jr. or Sr. would have been on the menu as well. So I think they got it right. It was a Freudian suspension, and keep him in the skybox because New York fans don't play that.
Cody, you ever been yelled at while leaving a game?
I have. Never had anything thrown at me, though.
Do you guys like the idea, or is it a dad joke, a mean suggestion that Tyrese Halliburton and John Halliburton should do a show together called Hallie Questionable?
I like it.
I like it. No, that's good. Hallie Questionable. That's really good.
A lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna steal that.
the loser game show sound decides for itself whether something is a funny joke or not. Okay. Granddad Greg Cody making a granddad joke and saluting a granddad joke as good is not the compliment that he thinks it is.
Sure it is. It's the ultimate compliment.
Poll questions, please, one of which is about dad jokes and whether or not they are intentionally and purposefully terrible. What do you have for us?
Yes, sir. Are dad jokes always terrible? 56% of the audience says no, they are not.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
What a win.
Good day for
Wow.
dads. Yes.
What a victory for myself. Close. Too close, but still a victory. Big W.
Yes, sir.
Big V.
Speaking of dads, congratulations to Northwestern for making it to the championship over the weekend. They had a tough game in the championship, but still, getting to the championship is not an easy feat. You feel me? Salutes, Stugotz.
Thank you.
Also put on the poll, Juju, was Joe Rose a great tight end? I just want to close that loop.
Greatest on that team. I mean.
At the time.
20th in the league overall.
It's shooter's touch, math. 56% of the audience says no, it's not.
A bunch of non-shooters out there. Bunch of bricklayers.
Hey, salute to MTV. Can a team that's up 2-0 literally be playing for their lives?
Yes. Yes.
58% of the audience says no, they cannot.
They're wrong.
Oh, wow.
Is it very hard to beat the Carolina Hurricanes 16 times in a row?
So hard.
I had a typo earlier in the show. I put Panthers, and it was still hard. 76% of the audience says, yes, it is hard.
Hey, yo.
And the last poll, what are there more of, Starbucks or CVS's? 80% of the audience says Starbucks. And those are your polls.
Go ahead and close us out with a little bit of that great work that made Joe Rose the 20th best tight end in the sport in 1982 when he had 343 receiving yards.
That's good. Big juicy cheeseburgers, a Philly chicken. That's good. Onions. Mushrooms. It's good. Excuse me, can I have a side order of... Can I get some blue cheese with it? I like to dip my thick... And that blue cheese they have there. Hey, you want some pasta and seafood dishes with fresh fish? It's good. So good. Yeah. There is nothing like a thick